Mute this, and we are live. Let's see what's going on. All right, family. So we live. Let's see. Let's see. What did I want to show? Okay. All right, peace and shalom, family. What's going on? This is a impromptu coronavirus stay-at-home Chronicles session, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just gonna wait for some people to join in, and then we'll get started. All right, shalom to the family that just joined in. Shalom to Jetson Silencio, Yapa Kalaya. Shalom. All right, so let's see. Yeah, if y'all want, you can share this. I'm probably gonna share it too. So just give me a second. Let's see. All right, let me see. All right. Let's see. Just give me a second. Let me just share this real quick. Shout out to Milka Israel in the building, Ken Lewis in the building. Let's see. Just give me a second. All right, here we go. Really? That looks crazy. Okay. Shout out to Ron Eastside in the building. Knowledge Truth. What's going on, my brother? How's things out there? Where you at? knowledge, let me know. Let me know, because you're not in the continental state. So let me know how things going out your way. All right. So you can go ahead and share this if you want, family. This is just a brief impromptu session right now. I'm going to stay live just for a little bit and just talk about some recent developments. Since I'll have time this week and next week, I'm going to be working on the PowerPoint that you guys might have seen from the community tab in regards to the coronavirus. So I'm going to try to break that thing down for y'all in layman's terms as much as I can, and be able to give you guys a solution once we understand what's going on. I mean, recently, people have been sending me a patent, 101-30701. And that patent, pretty much what they did was they invented a coronavirus, and they had made some changes to the coronavirus on some of the genome and the NSPs, which is the proteins used for coding the transfer of the RNA of the virus from the outside, going through endocytosis and transferring it to the nucleus, right? So they made some mutations on those proteins that code for that. And as a result of that, do is look at the patent and the details from the patent and look at the current sequence genome that we have of the coronavirus that's existing right now. You know what I'm saying? So try to compare the two and see if there is some kind of affinity. If there is, then that is a really interesting thing to look into to kind of figure out how that came to be. If it's not, then we can pretty much debunk that conspiracy theory, right? So like I said, you can take a coronavirus and you can, engineer one. But when you do that, you leave fingerprints behind, and anybody examining it can tell if it's been interfered with, engineered, man-made, or if it's something that developed in the wild. So there's different ways to look at that. Now, hey, I'm glad Brother JT is here. Brother JT, I'm going to shout you out. And I would love for you to come in and get on the panel so I could chew you up in regards to the statement you left when I made a post about coronavirus. So yeah, feel free to let me know if you're ready to join the panel. I'll give you a link, and I'm glad to give you that work tonight. All right. So let me know if you're ready for that. Nala says, applies the limit like everybody else. I work at the hospital where appointments are rescheduled for telephone conferences. Yeah, I feel you. Shout out to Vanessa Satterwhite in the building. Shout out to the people of the book. Darak Kanya. What's going on? So this broadcast is about anything, right? I'm just starting off with the coronavirus since that's the biggest priority that's going on right now, that I'm investing my time researching and staying on top of, and trying to help people through it the best that I can. Make sure you'll go, if you're able to, and donate to our GoFundMe that we have. All right, I'm gonna drop the GoFundMe in the chat so that way we can continue to help those who are in need and who are struggling financially through this crisis. All right, so that's the link right there. You guys can give whatever you can, and let's continue to help everybody that we can, so we don't have to turn anybody away. Like I said, we've helped about 7 families already. We have a couple more that's asking, but I mean, everything depends on what we raise for the GoFundMe fundraiser. All right. So Nisi's, you're right, sis. Shalom to you as well. He is, but from time to time you gotta get a spanking. You know what I'm saying? So he could join on the platform. I'll give him that work real quick, and I'm sending him back home. He might not be able to because he might be stuck in bed somewhere like he always is. So we'll see. All right. So shout out to Damian Bland. What's the validity of the book of Sirach? I think the book of Sirach is good information. I don't see it as canon. But when you say validity, what do you mean? Do you mean, is it authentic? Is it pseudepigrapha? When you ask what's the validity of it, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Define validity for me. What you mean by that? And I'll see what I can do to answer that question for you. But anyway, so I think it's important that all of us learn some virology so we can understand, what this virus is, what it can do, and then what you can do to be proactive to stay healthy. So that way you are not afflicted by it if you do catch it. Because right now things are getting so bad that they're telling people if you're sick, stay at home. And I was talking to a family member on the phone, and I was like, man, it's going to be crazy that they're telling people to do this for 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, you see the same people who got sick, who are trying to go to the hospital, is going to be dead at their house. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy. We start finding people dying in their home because they're told to stay home. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if you think about it, what more can you do for them, right? So the best thing they could do is educate themselves on it and make sure they have the necessary essential items, things that they add into their diet, supplementation, etc. So that way they stay healthy. Okay. If you look on this side, there we go. If you look back here, right there, that item right there, everybody should have that in their home and use it maybe twice a week or maybe more, depending upon what's going on, to help you out in regards to that as well. Then I shared the Clear Lungs Extra Strength solution for you guys. Is on the community tab as well. Because matter of fact, I'll show you the article. This is going to be in the actual PowerPoint that I'm going to do on the coronavirus. All right. Because there's a lot of conspiracy theories that's coming out there. Some things have validity, some things don't. And I'm not one to cater to conspiracy theories. I examine the claims to see if there's any authenticity to it. And it seems like there are some. In some cases, sometimes it's not. All right. So with that being said, let me show you guys this article real quick, because I think this is important for people that are interested in keeping up with the coronavirus. Technically, I can go into that with you guys as well. I'm going to pretty much explain to you, show you the breakdown, the phylum breakdown of the actual virus itself, and then go into the etiology of the actual pathogen and its effect on the host. Show you how it enters into the cells with the ACE2 receptors on the cells and the glycoprotein spikes that come out. Corona means crown in Latin. And the reason why they call it that is because when you look at the envelope that the actual RNA is housed in, on the outskirts, not outskirts, but on the outside of the actual envelope is little spiky items that's coming out. Those are called glycoproteins, and those are the keys that lock into the ACE2 receptors that allow the virus to gain entry into the cell through the process of what's called endocytosis, right? So when you understand this process, the objective is what can you do in regards to your blood, so that way you can interfere with the attachment and the penetration stages, right? Because it's things that you can do to prevent it from actually getting into the body. You have several different types of immunoglobulins, which is your antibodies, right? There's 5 different types. You have some that are naturally occurring. You have some that developed based on encountering a pathogen. Then you got the ones that causes allergies that bind to different foreign proteins and items such as pollen and ragweed and things of that nature. That's your IgE. And then you have IgA, IgG, IgD, which I don't know too much about, and we're trying to figure out more about it. But you have different types of immunoglobulins, right? That's responsible for neutralizing pathogens in the bloodstream and responding to it, right? And some of these things adhere to mast cells, dendritic cells, Langerhans cells. Some of them are adhered or attached to B cells. You have cytotoxic T cells. You have NK natural killer cells as well. Eosinophils, basophils. So you have several different types of leukocytes that are responsible for dealing with pathogens that come into the body. You also have several different kinds of interleukins, right? Which is the way white blood cells communicate with each other. It's protein signaling between each other. You have interferons, which are designed to interfere with the life cycle of viruses that's actually in the bloodstream. And there's other things that your body attempts to do to thwart what's inside the cell. That's your MHC1, MHC2. These are ways that the cell's presenting on its surface what's inside of it, so it can alert other white blood cells that something is wrong, right? And that's another way your body protects you in regards to the virus. Apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, is another way that the cell itself, if it sees that something is wrong, or the mechanics of the cell is not working or functioning properly, the cell kills itself, breaks up the small little vacuoles, so that way white blood cells can come and engulf them and bring them away. Okay. So there's several things to know that if I take certain supplements, will these supplements neutralize the virus in the bloodstream while it's in the bloodstream, or if it does make entry into the cell, what can you do that'll interfere with it? Now, the reason why these receptors are on cells, because cells have to take in micronutrients in order for it to survive and continue to do what it needs to do. So viruses take advantage of these pathways, these intake pathways, so it can gain entry into the cell. But there are several substances that you can get that interfere with several phases of the virus life cycle, right? Sometimes it's grouped as 4, sometimes it's grouped as 6, right? Different life cycles, right? From the process of attachment all the way to your exocytosis, right? Where it's actually exiting out of the cell, right? And that's called the release phase, right? Where it becomes a complete virion. And when you take natural substances, it can interfere with several of these processes, right? Now, the difference between taking phytochemical or botanical substance or something along those lines is a lot of times you're getting it from food that you eat, right? The difficulty with that is that you have to make sure that you eat enough food that has the components in them. Sometimes they can be polysaccharides that can do the interference and other different components of these things that you eat. And polysaccharides, I had mentioned the red marine algae. That's what it has that actually acts as an antiviral. And then you have to make sure that when you eat these foods, that they are properly synthesized or catalyzed in the GI tract, and that the components that are actually antiviral make it through the gastrointestinal tract, right? Is actually brought into the body. And those components are allowed to float through the bloodstream, right? And then it gets to the targeted areas. The difference is with allopathic medicine or drugs, these things are designed specifically to target something in particular. Now, if it's an antiviral, they're designed to target certain things that interfere with the replication cycle of a virus, right? So sometimes viruses, they begin the assembly process by using their own proteins that's there in the RNA. And when it begins to do that, sometimes it does it while it's in the cytoplasm before it makes its way into the nucleus. And if it attempts to do that, this is why some antivirals are effective against those type of viruses, because it interferes with those proteins that are responsible for the assembly, the beginning or the early stage assembly of the actual virus, right? And this is where you have these antiviral drugs that works against herpes and that works against HIV and works against other viruses as well. But there's other viruses that rely solely on the nucleus to do all of the assembly work for them. And it's very difficult to get an antiviral that affects those viruses, because if you try to stop the assembly process, you can actually kill off those cells or maybe all the cells in your body, right? And you don't want to do that. And sometimes some cells that are infected by viruses, if the cells don't die or go through the process of apoptosis, if something's wrong, then sometimes they can turn cancerous, and that can also be a source for cancer as well, right? So the thing is just to be properly educated about these things, to understand how these things work. When I peruse through these articles that talk about natural products that can be used and the phytochemicals that's derived from the botanical items that we consume, you just want to make sure that the body, or when I say body, I'm talking about the gastrointestinal tract, is able to catalyze it appropriately and bring those isolates into the bloodstream, so that way it can work effectively against the virus. Because if it doesn't, then you have a problem. And sometimes people will take supplements, and sometimes these supplements will have those effects as well. But again, everything is designed behind the manufacturing process of that actual supplement, right? From its natural source all the way to the capsule form that you take, or the tablet form that you take, right? So it's important to analyze these things, and sometimes it can be difficult. And because, everybody's not calculating everything at every given time and looking for the right dosage. So I know I don't do that all the time, right? But when you read and just know some knowledge of it, you understand that if you take X amount, the efficacy of it should be potent enough to do what you want it to do if you're able to see results or your results after consuming it, right? Whether it's food or whether it's a supplement, right? And that's the way that you can probably, do experiential type of testing with yourself to see if it's actually effective, right? So if symptoms start to get calmed, and remember, you don't only want to take items that's going to actually attack the virus, but you want to make items that's going to stabilize the immune system, because it's your immune system responding to the pathogen that actually kills you, especially in the case of this coronavirus. The body produces mucus, excess mucus in the lungs, in what's called the alveoli sacs, which are the sacs that capture oxygen and allows it to diffuse into the bloodstream. And when that fills up with mucus, it's the same thing like when people get asthma. No oxygen can get through and the person will die from lung failure, right? And pulmonary doctors will be able to, give you information or insight in regards to that. And they're the ones that typically treat the people who are afflicted by coronavirus. But coronavirus as well, tropism is the range in which the virus can affect certain cells, whether it's a targeted cell or a wide range of cells. And there's several cells that this virus can infect, thereby causing certain other symptoms, right? So when you get certain symptoms, you can pretty much tell where the virus has traveled throughout the body, right? And some people are asymptomatic where they don't show symptoms, and some people are symptomatic where they do show symptoms, right? So the best thing you can do for people is just educate them. Me, I'm an enthusiast, right? I like this type of stuff, so I read it all the time. I research it, right? I see what works and what doesn't. I test it on me or, whoever else is willing to take items and see what the result is. And when I say that, it's suggestions, educational suggestions that's given to say, hey, take this supplement and let's see the results. But the most important thing is to make sure that the person is getting all of their vital nutrients first before taking any supplements, right? Because your body still needs these vital nutrients in order for it to work effectively, okay? And it's interesting also when you look at other ways that other species on this planet, such as like bacteria, you have these bacterial phages, right, which are viruses that infect bacteria, and see how bacteria fights them, because bacteria doesn't have a nucleus, right? And then you look at plants, because plants are also afflicted by viruses, and see how their immune system interferes with the virus as well. When you learn these things, you see all these novel treatments that they start to develop in regards to antivirals, right? So what I want to do is just take this information, condense it, and be able to parse it out and show you guys the different components of it, and convey it in a way that can be easily absorbed. I think it's better when I do the PowerPoint as opposed to just saying it like this, because you can see it visually, and it's linear, right? So you can follow it step by step as I'm going through it. But I simply want people to know that I'm doing my best to sift through all this information, see what's legit, what's not, and give the best recommendations, right? I'm trying to be responsible with this, despite what my own, subjective views are on things, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, with that said, shout out to my brother Q Butter in the building. Man, what's going on, Q? Did not expect to see you in the chat. What's going on, my brother? Shout out to SJ Lewis 42, Deborah Newsom in the building. Let me see who else is here. Cheryl Stacks 2296. He said, "Are you a certified nurse, eye doctor?" What is you talking about? Listen, bro, JT. All right, I let you troll, but you don't troll responsibly. But I let you troll from time to time. I don't know what you're talking about right now, but I'm going to show the people the comment you left on one of the posts that I made on the community section, so they can see how I don't know where you're at, where you're coming from, but I think you're really, seriously trolling, like really trolling right now, because you're deviating people away from what it is that I'm saying, and you're not offering any solution to the people that's in the chat. So you're just wasting everybody's time. You know what I'm saying? Stacks, true. I'm going to do a show on Maccabees TV probably this Sunday, where I'm going to give my take in regards to everything. Hopefully my PowerPoint is done by then. If it's not, I'll have enough slides though to go through the things, because I want to educate people, right? I want people to understand what works and what doesn't work. I want them to have a root cause analysis of this infection, right? And how you get it and how it attacks the body, what will work, what won't work. right? Because there's things that people say that they tried and say, oh, this is going to kill the virus. I'm like, nah, that's not going to kill the virus. You don't know what that is. Some people talk about 5G and say it's really 5G that's causing these symptoms. I'm going to save that because I'm supposed to discuss that on Sonetta TV. So I'm going to give you my perspective on that and other things, because again, I'm in the IT field, right? I've worked with contractors and vendors that's in the telecommunications industry. And my recent contract that I had that expired, but my last contract was a company that also had a mobile division as well. So we interface with them from time to time. So, I have knowledge on that, and I'm just a technological enthusiast, right? So I know, looking at white papers of things is something I had to do in my line of work, and examining how things work and operate in vitro, right? And then how they operate in vivo, and be able to internally verify and externally validate a claim, right? You can't just say, hey, we just built out this new product and we put it out there in the field and this is what it does to people. Well, what is that based off? Is that based on your knowledge of knowing the white paper? See, people don't read the white paper when they talk about technology, so you don't really know the limits. Also, FCC, you have to submit your whatever the product is to the FCC so they can examine it, they can break it down, they can tear it apart, they can explain what the components are and deem it safe before it's established. Now, does that mean the FCC has the strictest regulations? No, but they have enough regulations there so that way you can get access to the information and see what these cell towers are and read the white papers behind these things. They're available online. You know what I'm saying? You can get these things and see, does it cause cancer? And then you got to understand how cancer works. I did a whole free lecture on here, right, about cancer. Y'all can go check it out. So it's just important that people have to actually understand these things, right? So I am even Steven, Sister Nisi's. I will. If he keeps going, I will. I definitely will. All right. Wow, I see what you're saying. So you said coronavirus was patented by US in 2006 by a company called Chiron and brought by GlaxoSmithKline, a pharmaceutical company. European patent on the coronavirus vaccine applied for in 2014 and granted in 2019. All right. So I thank you for sharing that information. I don't know if you've unpacked all of that and you've actually studied it in depth, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. So definitely you got to remember, just because you see things that seem related, remember, correlation does not equal causation, right? That's a logical fallacy. You cannot use that in debate. You have to prove that, right? This is why I say that when I'm going to look at this attenuated coronavirus, all right, in this US patent 101-30701, and then I'm going to look at the NSPs because that's where the mutations are in that invention. And then once we look at the sequence genome and find the NSPs, which is, I believe, I'm not mistaken, NSP 12, 14, 15, and 16, if I'm not mistaken, because I started looking at it and I released the document that had the entire sequence genome for this novel coronavirus. We call it COVID-19. Some people call it the Wuhan HCV or WHCV. Sometimes it's called SARS CoV-2. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, when these things are said, we have to make sure that we know enough that we can unpack it and we can analyze it and we can validate it, right? So I see what you're talking about. Like I said, I'm getting into the nitty gritty that I'm looking at the genome and comparing it what we have in the patent to see if it lines up, because I don't know nobody that has done that yet, right? I'm going to attempt to do that. And remember, I don't claim to be a biochemist, right? I don't claim to be a scientist at all. I use the same research methodology as them, and I go to the same textbooks that they go to, right? To learn what they're doing, right? So I may not know 1,000% all the intricacies that they may have knowledge of, but I know enough of it that I can follow. And I'm very investigative, right? Because like I told y'all, I used to go to a college for forensic psychology, forensic science, John Jay College. And going there, I learned the forensic methodology, right? So it helps a lot in these stages. Working in IT as well, you have to do a root cause analysis. I'm able to do that, do an assessment of things, troubleshoot things all the time, provide solutions. So in my history, I've learned enough stuff that I've picked up the appropriate research methodology to actually sift through things to kind of determine what is authentic or what is not, right? Because authentication is extremely important in order for something to be validated, right? So shout out to Sis Lovely LD in the building. So I take whatever information people give me, no matter how wild and crazy it may be, and I sift through it. I examine it. You know, some of it has merit, some of it don't. You know what I'm saying? But you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're either gonna, you know, a lot of us have been affected financially by this, right? A lot of us have been confined to our homes, especially people who are you know, extroverts, right? Introverts, I think they're fine. It's the people who are the opposite of the introvert that is really being afflicted by staying home. I know a lot of them are depressed, are bored, don't know what to do. Some of them hit me up. I'm like, yo, just read some books. You know what I'm saying? If you have nothing to do, just read. You know, you got time on your hands, just read if you can, right? And I try to read a little here and there, you know, as much as I can consume in a day, and then do research at night, right? Late night like this. So, you know, getting the mask is important because the objective of the mask is to keep people who are, you know, infected from infecting other people. That's important as well. The gloves too. They tell you practice social distancing and stuff like that. What people need to know, you know, based on several reports that I've read from medical experts in the field, is that when this is all said and done, 80% of the population is going to be infected with the coronavirus, right? Similar to like getting the flu, right? Now the flu, it comes from a different family of viruses, right? But everybody is going to get it like the flu for the most part, right? And you got to understand, with RNA viruses, they mutate a lot. So we can get a different strain 2 years from now that could be more infectious, right? And it could be one that's mutated from the current strain that we have, and that's been able to overcome, you know, vaccinations, that's been able to overcome our immune system as it is now, because now the virus has time in the human body to adapt to the things in the human body and become more efficient with infecting us, right? So these things are important to know, okay? Yes, I saw that lovely LD. I seen that. But remember, until all of that is settled, which is not completely settled at the moment, we're not getting anything. We're just going to suffer for having to wait, especially those of us who don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? So Jean Bertrand said, are the Israelites really Canaanites? So when the Israelites exited out of Egypt, right, or Mizraim, I did a whole lecture on this, and I want you to understand that my position is I don't subscribe that 3.5 million people came out of Egypt. That did not happen, right? And the problem with that is that a lot of people have not done that type of research to actually understand how that works, because it's a linguistic feature that most people miss. And I did a whole lecture. I think it's called Revisiting Exodus 12 and 38, how many Israelites actually exited out of Egypt. That's the lecture. And this book right here that I have, excellent book right here that I have, I think everybody should go and purchase it. It's called The Social Structure of Ancient Israel by S. Bendor. So when I make statements like when we do comparative cultural analysis or intercultural analysis between ancient Israel, pre-Israelic Israel, and the Igbo peoples, these are the type of things that I look at. Social structure, right? When you look at the ancient pre-Israelic Israelite social structure, and you look at what Igbo had in Igbo land pre-colonial times, you'll see that it's almost exactly the same. Is that a coincidence? Some people may say yes. I say no, it's not a coincidence, right? But that's neither here nor there. But in this book, and I purchased this book in 2018, I think. I did that lecture, I think in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But this book actually confirms that lecture that I made, and I didn't even read this book yet. But in this book, you'll see that it tells you that word aleph, right, or alafim, and how to interpret it in a numerical sense, right? When it's used in Judges with Gideon, it refers to that he's the least of his tribe, family. But in other places, they render it with the numerical value 1,000, which is interesting. But when you look to see how many Israelites left out, it was less than 100,000 total, right? And I would step out to say way less than 100,000, right? Maybe anywhere from 33,000 to 90,000 that actually exited out. So looking at the Israelites that exited out and settled into Canaan, we had skirmishes then. Again, everything depends on the chronology, right? So if I'm saying that they exited out of Mizraim in about 1446, and they entered the land about 1406, and then their skirmishes was from 1406 on, and then they had settlement into the land peacefully for a lengthy period of time, with minor scuffles, and then over time, after the collapse of the Bronze Age and the ushering of the Iron Age, when the Periset or Peliset peoples or Philistine peoples, which are part of the sea people, settled on the coastal plains and started encroaching upon the central countryside where these Israelites had went to gather, right? Then you had a situation where it's been several hundred years that they have actually lived in the land as Canaanites, right? So it would have been difficult to distinguish them after a period of time during the end of the Bronze Age, beginning of Iron Age 1, right, which is 1200 to about 1000 BCE. And so they started making themselves, distinct in about 1000 BCE on, because remember, they when they settled in the land, they were doing everything that was right in their own sight. They were doing the same customs, intermarrying with the people of Canaan. So they would have been identified as the people of Canaan, right? And then over time, when you had certain these judges pop up and these prophets popping up, urging the people, and then you had the rise of Samuel, and then later on Shaul, and then David, etc. Then they started to actually come together collectively, and they started to unite with the tribes, right? That came out. They started to unite and become one polity, so they can respond to the encroachment that was being done by the Philistines, right? So I say that is important because when they first exited out, the ethnogenesis of the people happened in Egypt. And when they exited out, they were distinct people. But when they settled in the land and lived there for several hundred years, they became part of the Canaanite makeup. OK, and then over time, they started to emerge. And then we started to see another phase of the ethnogenesis occur in the central countryside. All right. And then it fanned out more going into Iron Age 2. OK. So, Jean Bertrand, I answered your question. I don't know what your agenda is behind asking that question, but you are welcome to get on this panel and have a discussion with me. Shout out to my brother, D Red in the building. What's going on? Let me see. D Kid, you also welcome to join in. You are very active in my chat, but you never want to join in. I don't know why, but it's all good. All right. So Seeking the Truth Ministry said, will you please put a link to that book in the chat or on your website? Thank you for your work. No problem. Thank you so much for that. So this book, The Social Structure of Ancient Israel, you can get it from Amazon, right? There it is right there. Just type that into Amazon by S. Bendor, and you can order it yourself. It's about 350 pages. It's about 350 pages. And has very extensive bibliography in it as well, right? It's an excellent read. It's really, the book was published in 1996, and the second impression was in 2000, right? So I haven't found a lot of works like this, like an actual book. I've seen academic articles on it, but I haven't seen a lot of books like this written on. This is an excellent book. I love this book, right? And the other one that I recommend y'all get is this one here, Contextualizing Israel's Sacred Writings, Ancient Literacy, Orality, and Literary Production. All right, this is another really good book, because what I did was I studied the oral tradition of the Israelites before their oral tradition and social memory became literary, right? You had orality and then literary that came much later, which is interesting, that when you study the way that they capture the oral traditions is similar to what you see happening in West Africa. And again, that's part of the comparative cultural analysis, right? So I think those are two great books that I recommend that anybody get if you want to look at the culture from different angles. Some people shut themselves into just the text itself, and I'm like, you got to do more research and than just the text. The text is the foundation, but you got to branch outside of that to really validate a lot of stuff that's in there by actually studying the culture with all the available data that we have. All right. So, Gene, you keep asking questions, right? So if you like, let me know. Email me. I'm going to give you my email right here. Right. That's the email. Shoot me an email. And then I will give you the invite and you can jump on the panel and let's build. All right. The biblical, my brother Pac Rosino, what's going on? I'm not really doing a panel discussion tonight, just a one-on-one if people want to join in. Not really doing a panel discussion tonight. This was just an impromptu. Typically Friday nights is when we get busy. And then if I have any content from one Friday to the next and I upload something, or if I can go live again, I will. Right. But I'll be live again Friday. Obviously, I might go live again some other time this week, Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure. We'll see. But Friday is the designated Friday that I have to actually speak on some stuff. And then also I'm working on that PowerPoint presentation. So you asked about, let me take a look at this, right? So hold on. So DJ, you said Exodus 1:9 was a mistranslation, right? So Exodus 1:9 in ESV says, and he said to his people, behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us, right? So if we look at this in Hebrew, it's Wayomer el Amal, Hine am bene Yisrael rab weasum mim menu. I think that's still accurate. So I don't see anything in there that contradicts what I was saying about Exodus 12:38. So the people with Israel says that they are more, or the word there is not really more. It's a masculine singular adjective, meaning rab, meaning great. That the children of Israel are great and mightier than me. And that word atzum is the word for mighty. So you have rab we atzum, right? So they are greater and mightier than we. So some translations turn that into the word numerous, and that just means that they were great and mightier. So great and mighty is really nothing in regards to numbers there. So when you look at it from the actual language, then you'll see what is it there. All right. So G consciousness, if you want to know what my position is in regards to the 400 years, go back and look up my not lecture, but live stream that I did on it, and you'll get your answer. Okay. There you go. All right. So that's that. Hopefully that answers your question right there, DJ. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. People of the book, you're absolutely correct. I've noticed that as well. Just driving through those neighborhoods, I noticed that as well. All right. So let me clear this off. Okay, that was pretty positive. I wasn't expecting that. All right. What lecture? Okay. So you want me to give you the lecture instead of you looking for yourself, right? So you have hours of time to kill when you do your live streams, right? So you can use those same amount of hours to look up the lecture, but I'm going to make it easy for you, right? Because I already know your agenda asking that, because you want to put my position against Dante's. Knock yourself out with it. Maybe not going to change anything. I mean, it's evident that people have different perspectives, just like your perspectives of certain things as being a Christian differs from some UAs or urban apologists, right? So if you want to know my position is, I did this. When did I do this? Back in 2019. I think I did it about a year ago. right? So you really should work for it if you want to see it. Just type 400 years and put Divine Prospect in YouTube search, and it should come up, right? So look, if I do it, I just put it in right now, and it's the first video that comes up there. Type in 400 years, Divine Prospect. The video is there, okay? You have a lot of hours to kill, so it's about 4 hours. So take your time and go through it, and you'll see what my position is on that, okay? So hopefully that helps you out. Shout out to my brother Mikhail Woodward in the building. Why can't you be straightforward? I just told you what to do. So if you're going to take the time to do it, you can do it. It's there, all right? So there's nothing to be straightforward about, because you're not asking in a sincere, from a sincere place. You're asking because you want to see my position and put it at odds with somebody else and then gossip about it, right? So if you were being sincere, then I would have just told you. But because you're not being sincere, and I know your agenda, this is why I give it to you like that, so you can work for it, right? But nonetheless, shout out for the $20 you gave me the other day. You wanted me to freestyle. I didn't freestyle because Vocab didn't freestyle, right? You know, maybe he has to get back with you and eat some more chicken wings, and then maybe he can get it in his system and say, all right, cool, I could go ahead and freestyle. But now I asked him to freestyle. He didn't want to freestyle, donate the money. I was going to give him way more money than that, but he didn't want to freestyle. So I was like, all right, cool. He didn't want to freestyle. But yeah, touche on that, G-Con. Touche. All right. So that being said, DJ said KJV messed me up then. I mean, like I said, this places the KJV gets it right. Some places the KJV gets it wrong. You know what I'm saying? You're right, G-Con. I'm not Vocab. And I actually used to be a lyricist. I actually did rap. I actually did have music back in the day. But I stopped doing that years ago, a long time ago. I think the last time I actually did a song, a real song, was in 2004. So we're talking like 16 years ago. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting the hood chicken wings anymore, kind of like to get the, you know, the hormones that they pump into the meat, into my veins again. So that way I can go out and rap, and I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. So I don't know. Maybe it's because I had a fast from all of that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I need to hang around Vocab so I can kind of get, you know, get that swag back. Because, you know, Vocab be freestyling, not saying it's any good, but at least he does that to entertain the people. He's definitely not a music artist anymore. Now, on the other hand, BK Apologist, he can rap. He definitely can rap. All right. So give me 16 bars. I'm not giving you no 16 bars unless you want to battle. So if you want to battle, let me know and I'll give you 16 bars. That's it. All right. So otherwise, let me continue on with the show. All right. Quarter water and sunflower seeds, like Jay-Z said. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to go back to. I had to get back into that hood atmosphere, you know what I'm saying, to rap again. You know what I'm saying? The type of rap that I was doing back then. Now I think the reason why is a lot of writer's block is because I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing now. And that's why I'm not doing music anymore. You know what I mean? But I did love it. Like I said, I had a whole group we would call the Starting Five. And, you know, we was on the verge of releasing a album on a major label. And unfortunately, it didn't work out once we learned the favors that need to be done in that industry. And I definitely was not down with that. So a lot of our stuff was just underground stuff that we were doing, you know what I'm saying? And we was on Hot 97 way back in the day. But that's neither here nor there. The ranch flavor. I don't know what you're talking about there. I'm not sure. All right, so I'll just find some stuff to talk about unless you want to ask some quick questions. People are hitting me up on Facebook. But anyway, like I said, the GoFundMe is still there. If anybody wants to support, I'll go ahead and add that back in the chat. If anybody wants to support that, shout out to everybody that did give, to the GoFundMe. Shout out to all my Patreon supporters. for helping to support the ministry. Like I said, we're going to continue to add more things to our Patreon to make it worth your while for investing into us. Okay. Pat Rossino, I don't know if I want to get into that right now. I may speak on that in the future, but yeah, there was a lot of blackmail favors they wanted us to do, and we just wasn't going to do that. I mean, we were young, we were hungry, but we was not stupid. Okay. And I heard about rumors and stuff like that. Didn't really believe it because I really wanted to get put on and get money. But once I found out about it, I was like, nah, I'm not, that's not me. I'm not built to do nothing like that. So it didn't work out. Right. So, and I'm glad it didn't, because I wouldn't be here. All right. G-Con, I don't know. You need to ask him. That's not my best friend. That's not my buddy like that. We cool, but that's about it. So I don't know what he's going to do. So maybe you should ask him. I don't know. That's like me asking you, hey, when is Adam Coleman going to go live? When is So Real going to go live? When is Vocab going to go live? Unless they put it out there, who knows? Nobody's going to know. I don't know. I have no clue. So you need to ask the brother himself. That's it. It's very simple. All right. G-Con is not a Calvinist. G-Con is not a Calvinist, and G-Con is not a Trinitarian either. Okay. Matt Sila, or So Real, he deals with the Eastern Orthodox Church. Me and him was talking about theosis, or theosis. We were discussing that last year, and I wanted to know what's his position on that, if you truly subscribe to that, as well as the iconography that's in the Eastern Orthodox Church and several other things. You know what I'm saying? Okay, G-Con, no problem. What was the name of your lecture about Israelite social culture? I don't know there's a name of a lecture. I've spoken about that in several lectures. What I was talking about is a lecture called Revisiting Exodus 12 and 38, how many Israelites actually exited out of Egypt. That's the one that I was talking about, saying how many Israelites actually left out of Egypt. Okay. Justin, I don't know, man. I think Vocab spiked his drink, G-Con's drink, when they were hanging out with that magic sauce. And now G-Con, I mean, his mind is hardwired for Christianity. So I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's just the influences that he was around. I think several Christians spiked his drinks over the years, and despite whatever information we give to him, this is where he's at right now. I think G-Con is a cool brother. Sometimes he trolls and does hours-long video on me. That's good. A few people have come to me based on the videos that he did, so he helped to promote me in that way. So for that, shout out to you, G-Con, for that, because you sent several Christians my way. That's why I want to give a special thanks to all the urban apologists out there. Keep my name in your mouth. I'm okay with that. You guys are sending tons of people my way. Next time somebody, shout out to my sister, Mama Rika, in the building. Next time somebody comes to me from one of your lives, G-Con, I'm gonna put them on this panel. All right, and then you'll see us talk about it. So shout out to my brother D Red for the donation. I appreciate that, my brother. Shout out to Darak Kanya for the donation. I appreciate that. Shout out to my sister Taki Cochran in the building. What's going on? Oh, so family, I want to give update. Everybody that placed recent orders for the t-shirts, we are working on them. We're going to get them out to you soon. Given the current situation of social distancing and delays and stuff like that, it'll take a little bit of time to get to you, but we have not forgotten about you. We will give it to you. We come up on, I think, the 100 t-shirts. Almost 100 t-shirts. I think we're probably 10 t-shirts away from selling almost 100 t-shirts. We moved a lot of t-shirts. And we're going to keep pushing. We got new designs coming out. I want to thank everybody for purchasing these charity t-shirts that allow our services to continue to be free to the community. Thank y'all for that. Thank you, my brother Michael Woodward. I try to do what I can do. Yeah, I appreciate that. Shout out to my sister, Lovely DL, for the $5 donation. It says super sticker. It didn't show a sticker, sis. I don't know why it didn't show a sticker. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So D-Red. So my position, I don't know if you've seen my recent discussion. It's on my channel that I did in the Biblical Rumble Room. You'll see Pat Rossino's in the chat. In regards to that, where I spoke briefly about that. But in there, I kind of broke down to what's the brother's name? Wow, it must be late because I can't believe I forgot his name. When I spoke to the brother, I'll get his name right now. Marcus Webb. Sorry about that, Marcus. I got a lot on my plate right now. When I had a discussion with Marcus Webb, go check that video out, and I kind of pretty much break it down to him in regards to that, right? And I kind of sum it up. But I'm doing another lecture on it. I did one in March, I think, of 2018, and I'm going to do another one this year with more information than what I put in that initial one. That initial one was just a preview. I'm gonna give the full unpacking for this year, and like every 2 years, I'm gonna update it and give more and more data. You know what I'm saying? Lovely LD, yes, I know it's you, sis. I see your face. Do you want me to call you by your name or by the handle that I see here? Whatever one you prefer, let me know. Shout out to Batakia Sakari in the building. What's going on? What do you know about the Shasu people? I know a lot about the Shasu people. I've mentioned them in at least 4 different lectures that I've done. You can go back to the playlist that I did, and in that playlist, the minority report that I did, the one I just mentioned, revisiting Exodus 12 and 30, how many Israelites actually exit out of Egypt. I mentioned the Shashu also in the presentation I did on the Medu Necha, and the writing system or the literary aspect of Israelite culture. And I also talked about the Shashu on the lecture that I did in 2017 when I was rebutting Jabari. So I mentioned that several times in regards to the Shashu peoples and who the Shashu peoples are. All Shashu peoples were not Israelites. All right. All Shashu people were not Israelites. Only certain ones were Israelites. And we know which ones that were Israelites and where they were located at. All right. All right. So, hey, if you want me to say LaDonna, you want to put your government out there, sis, I'll put the government out there. So shout out to LaDonna in the building. All right. Anyway, so, what was I saying? So hopefully that answers your question. So in regards to that, like I said, my position on that, the objective of it is to avoid the opposing arguments against it and being able to see what they are and create a model that does not fall into those categories. So I had mentioned that was a migration, ancient priesthood Israelites, northern tribes migrating into West Africa. When they migrated into West Africa, acculturation took place, and then over time, inculturation took place, and you had amalgamation of things there in West Africa. That's my position, right? And then later on, you have the Sephardim and other Jews that came into that region as well. Some of them were traders, right? You had some, what are they called? Some Rodanites that were there, that were Jews that were doing trades, Majorcan Jews that were there doing trade, and other kinds of Jews in certain areas. So all of the Jews in West Africa were not the same group of Jews. They were different Jews. Okay. Mattiyahu, can you give a little info on your head cover? Because when I look them up to buy one, it keeps saying it's a Muslim hat for their culture. Okay. So what I have on right here is a kufi. And the reason why I wear the kufi is because it's part of West African garb. And it's not just limited to Islam. Okay. It's something that is cultural in West Africa as well. So it's just part of my cultural attire that I wear. Right. Just like having the fridges on, it's a part of cultural attire that I wear. Right. So I have it on because it's cultural attire of West Africa. Right. Muslims pretty much made it popular, but it wasn't just Muslims that were wearing it. Okay. So that's why I wear this head covering. Okay. One of my lectures that I did, I actually wore my Igbo hat, and one of my lectures that I had on as well. And you wear a black Igbo hat if you're under 40 and a red one if you're 40 and over. Okay. Pac Rosino, you are correct. You're definitely correct, because they were wearing head coverings before Islam was even on the scene. Right. Seth, yes, it is. It is happening this Friday. It is definitely happening this Friday. All right. Yeah, I don't know if you do unpack Rosino. If so, let me know. Make sure you're going to subscribe to the Biblical Rumble Room. Go and subscribe to the Biblical Rumble Room. Now, Pac Rosino, I seen the video you did. You did with Eric Mason. Yo, that was funny, man. Oh man, that joint was funny. Yo, put that in the chat, and I'll reshare it. That was a funny video, man. The Grimy Squad. Wow, that was a funny video, man. That was a funny video, man. You had me dying, man. That was funny, man. Correct. That same here, Taki. Same here. RBG. You know how we do. All right. Shout out to my sister Tahira, beloved in the building. What's going on, sis? Shout out to Seth Moyana as well. I don't know. I think I got everybody. On here. But yeah, this is just a chill session right here, man. I'm not really gonna go hard. Like I said, I got tons of stuff if you want me to talk about stuff. I mean, just let me know. But you know, just let me know. Let me know. Okay. So I see I'm getting a question from the Reubenite. Asked me, is it okay to consult a dibia regarding end time? So if y'all don't know what a dibia is, when you study Odinani, these are mediators, right? Metaphysical mediators that communicate between our realm and the realm of the unseen, or the spirit realm. And sometimes they can act as diviners when they do divination. Sometimes they are teachers. Some people may call them advisors, or whatever the case may be. And they actually operate shrines, right, according to certain deities. So he's asking me, should we consult with one of them when it comes to end times? I would say I personally would not. Because depending upon the one that you go to, all of them are not does not pertain to Israelite culture. So you have Alpha divination, which is a form of divination that is in Igbo culture, right? And there's other parts of, like, you can even do use kola nuts. They do that in Ifa too for the Yoruba, but you can use kola nuts also. Matter of fact, in one of the customs of hospitality, when an individual comes to your home and an Igbo person breaks a kola nut and gives you a piece of kola nut, that's also a form of divination, depending on how many pieces break when you cut into it, etc. But you can use kola nuts to do divination. You can also use kola nuts to toss or cast lots with for divination as well. So it's all about reconstructing the ancient Israelite practice through examining Odinani and Omanana, right? And looking at those things, because they have preserved it. According to the Hebrewists, they've preserved ancient pre-Israelite practices within those practices, right? So that's why there are certain parts of those practices that we know that are foreign to Israelite culture. Either some of them developed by Israelites living in that land, because Ani in Igbo means the land. And just like when we look at the Israelites, they established a theocracy in the land. So most of the statute laws and commandments was tied around operating as a theocracy in the land, right? So the Igbo that live in Igbo land in southeastern Nigeria, also all their practices, that's why Odinani, are the things that are customs that develop as a means of living in the land, right? So their halakha from the template of Torah was based on things that they've done in the land and interfacing with other peoples that lived in that realm as well, right? So I wouldn't go to a DBI and get, you know, and do divination or get them to advise me about end times, because it's not going to be part of the culture, that paradigm that I subscribe to. So I wouldn't do that. But if you choose to do that, that's on you. But I wouldn't do that. Right. Yeah, he said we got to get grimy with people. Oh man, that's funny, man. No, G-Con loves this channel, man. G-Con can't keep himself out this channel, man. Right? This is his second home right here, right? Being here with us, this is his second home. That's why he's here. He can't get enough of us. right? So he's here. That's why he's here, showing love and his support for everything that goes on with KHM. He's in the building. That's why he's here. All right. D Kid, I actually agree with you on that. All right. Stacks, no, I didn't see your question on Pesach. What did you say about Pesach? You said y'all run up. When did I ever run up in a church, man? What you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, G-Con. Are you familiar with Koine Greek as far as grammar is concerned? Because I want to give you a passage, and I want you to be able to parse out and break down for me the second aorist tense in a passage of scripture. All right. So let me know if you are familiar with Koine Greek grammar. I want to ask you a question about the second aorist tense in a particular passage, and tell me what you think about that. Shout out to Six Fingers in the building. What's going on? Shout out to my sister 916 Sean in the building. What's going on? Batachia, yeah, he is. He's gonna mess around and he's gonna see that a lot of people in the community that he's dealing with really don't like him, right? They really don't like him. And he's gonna realize why. Is because the way he thinks is much different. I do like some of the science that G-Con breaks down, because he knows some of the sciences to help support the scriptures. But I mean, I just want to know if he's familiar with Greek grammar, because I want to get into something real quick. And what I'm going to do for y'all, so y'all can follow along, I'm going to put up a Greek grammar book, all right, as a reference while me and him is talking. All right. So G-Con, if you're familiar with Greek grammar, please let me know. Let me send you the link. Join the panel. Let's have a discussion. I have a couple of passages. I want you to parse that out, and let's go over a couple things, right? Bro, I'm not in that community. Oh, you're not an urban apologist. That's what you're saying? You are an urban apologist, G-Con. Stop it. Just because I dismantled Chill Squad and you don't want the residue of that damage on you, don't mean you got to abandon being an urban apologist, bro. It don't mean you got to abandon urban apologist. Saying you ain't got to abandon being an urban apologist. If you are, you are. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? As a contender of the faith, you got to do apologetics, bro. Me being an Israelite, I got to do apologetics, whether I want to or not. You know what I'm saying? But that's just the way it is, man. Yeah, that Still I Rise, that was classic. Oh man. So G-Con says he doesn't do Greek grammar. G-Con, I be seeing you go into these Bible programs and you don't know grammar yet, bro. Come on, bro. Stop it, G-Con. G-Con, you gotta learn the language, man. Don't let me one up you and learning Greek grammar, bro. Come on, man. I need to ask you some questions. If it's not you, then you can recommend somebody else and we can have that question. Because what I realized is that even learning Greek grammar, you find some things out that have been mistranslated, that is not in favor of the Christian worldview. It's deep stuff. And I caught your boy, Robert Anderson and Andrew Hooper do dirt with that when I had a discussion with them. They didn't even know the Greek. They said, we don't need the Greek. It's like, what? If there's a disagreement about a particular passage, let's go into the language and see if it agrees with me, if it agrees with you, because what you see there in the language doesn't change. The translation will change, but the original language won't change unless you're looking at a different manuscript and there's some variants, but that's another subject matter altogether. All right. So, I mean, I found some things that I just want to talk about that with various apologists. Now, the Granville-Sharp rule. Are you familiar with the Granville-Sharp rule, G-Con? Let me know. Let me know, G-Con. We got to talk about your boy Granville-Sharp, okay? Let's talk about the Granville-Sharp rules, all right? It's very important that we discuss that, because I want to know if the Granville-Sharp rules also apply to quoting Greek works in antiquity before the scriptures, all right? Let's go, definitely go into that. Send a link. So do you want to go into the grammar, G-Con? I'm not going to bring you on here if you're not going to go into the grammar with me. Are you going to go into the grammar? Let me know. If you're not familiar with the grammar, I can send you material so you can learn Greek. So by the time we have another discussion, we can go over it. All right, just let me know. All right, I got my sister 916 Sanshan. She is bad with that Greek, man. Right, so she can confirm what I'm saying and what you're saying. So that's another witness that we got there. So if you don't want to talk about the Greek, then there's no need to get on the panel, because that's what I'm going to discuss with you, right? Because certain passages you pull up that you use in your live streams, and that's going to go into the Greek of it with you. That's all. That's it. All right. So just let me know. If you want to do that, then we can talk. If not, then give somebody else a chance, G-Con. Right? Give somebody else a chance to rap. All right. So again, family, those of you who are fortunate during this crisis, this corona pandemic crisis, if you're able to give so that other people can survive it, they may not be as fortunate as you. And the way things are looking, you may also come under a scourge from this pandemic, and we want to be able to support you. I put the link for the GoFundMe there in the chat. Please donate if you can. All right. G-Con, you said what passages? No, let's do this in real time. I don't want you looking at some guide to try to figure stuff out. No, you got to have it in here, bro. So I should be able to pull up any passage and we can parse it out together. So let's do it. I'm saying this because I want you to answer some things that you have brought up in regards to scriptures. Okay. If you cannot do that right now, that's okay. If you need material to help you, I have material I can give you. Right. But if you're not equipped to do that right now, then makes no sense to get into the discussion. Then he says, bro, you play games. How am I playing games when I just said, are you willing to go into the grammar and break down the second aorist tense in certain passages that you pulled out on your channel? Is yes or no. See, if you answer my question directly, like you asked me, then we can go somewhere. So it's a yes or no question. Are you willing to go into the original language of Koine Greek grammar to better interpret passages that you have shared on your page? Yes or no? It's yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no. There's plenty of us Israelites that know Greek grammar, okay? That study it. I'm not gonna say I'm a master in it, right? But I know enough to start parsing things out, make my way through it. I'm much better in biblical Hebrew than I'm in biblical Greek because I don't like Greek. That's just me. I don't like Greek. It's too many complexities in here. But I know enough of it to go through it and ask certain questions and parse things out and do better translations. So it's just a question I have for you. Just let me know. It's yes or no. It's not the passages. Bro, if you're not going to agree to have a real-time discussion, okay, that means you're going to be looking at something while we're talking. I don't want you to do that. I want you to look at me like I'm looking at you. I want you to look at me and let's talk. So if you're not going to do that, then let somebody else join the panel and have another discussion about something else. That's all, G-Con, is yes or no. Do you want to go over the grammar of the text? Yes or no? So I'm going to keep it there into, yeah, you are in the Old Testament. I know you are in the Old Testament. I know that. But you use New Testament too. The only reason why I mostly use the Old Testament is to validate prophecies, number one. Number two, to rebut and refute Hebrew Israelites. I know why you in it. I know why you in it. So, bro, JT, he says, you know Greek and Hebrew. Do you not follow the videos that I make, the lectures that I've done on here? Did you not just hear me read Hebrew? Would you like me to parse out the passages that I read in Shemot chapter 1, verse 9? Would you like me to break that down for you as well? Let me know. Hey, look, hey, he says, you know Greek and Hebrew, DivineProspect, but can't get the simple gospel right. Really, son? Yo, bro, JT, you're still talking your trash, bro. G-Con, yes, I hear you, bro. I don't want to deal with the Hebrew or the Old Testament. I'm asking you about the Greek. That's important. That's extremely essential in regards to soteriology from your perspective as a Christian. It's that simple. You see what the sis 916 Shan just dropped right there in the chat? Can we break that down together, G-Con? Because we have a witness right there that can validate the things that we say. Let me know. I mean, anyway, shout out to Sakari SGT in the building, G-Deb in the building. What's going on? Okay, G-Deb. All right, so that's fine. That's fine. So let's move forward. I'll move forward, right? And this is no shade to you, G-Con. It's all good. It's all good. We'll probably discuss it. I'll probably call in on your show. You know, sometimes I don't even know when you be going live. I don't know. I'll probably call in your show and we can have a discussion about it, right? But JT, he's trolling. I'm being nice with you right now, JT, right? You're talking about the gospel. What is you talking about? What is you talking about? I've broken that down already to you. I told you where you can find the gospel at Isaiah 52 and Isaiah 61. Yeshua confirms Isaiah 61 as being the gospel. So what are you talking about? When we looking at the gospel of the kingdom, not the gospel of Christ, the gospel of the kingdom, that's the gospel that I follow. That's the gospel that I teach, that I share, the gospel of the kingdom. The gospel of Christ is a separate entity altogether. The gospel of the kingdom, you know, what Yeshua was teaching while he was alive, that's what I teach. So if you're teaching something that's contradictory to that, then I can see why we have an issue. Okay. Eliezer, I agree. So I should just move on and just build about something else, right? Yo, sis, LaDonna, don't avoid that, man. Hit that Hebrew head on. All right. Now, look, I'll show you this. It's a book that I got. If I can, this book that I have right here, Biblical Hebrew Vocabulary and Context by Miles V. Van Pelt and Gary D. Pratico. Excellent book, sis. Get this book. It's cheap. You get it from Amazon. And this will help you go through it. This was, to me, really good book. I purchased this recently, maybe within the past year. I bought this and going through it. It's really good to help you refresh with your Hebrew. And I keep this on deck at all times. Biblical Hebrew Combat Guide, Miles V. Van Pelt. And I just go over it from time to time just to stay sharp, just to make sure I know my stuff. And then I also have my little Zondervan A+ guide right here. As you can see, I also got my Greek one over here too. Here's my Greek one right here. It's my Greek reference, right? William D. Mounts. I keep these as just references from time to time just to stay sharp, remind myself of things and get into certain things that I kind of skipped over, right? But there's other things you can do, like so I don't know how proficient you are in biblical Hebrew, Sister LaDonna, because I know you study, you're doing it now for school. I know for me, I think the important thing was taking, because, you know, here's one of the issues that I've learned from studying on my own biblical Hebrew. You'll learn a lot of rules that a lot of the books, this is why I get this, right? That a lot of the books don't actually give you passages that you can actually take what is being taught and apply it to an actual passage or a narrative, right? To see it holistically, how it holistically fits. So that's why I have to get books like this, because books like this, they give you passages, right? And then you got to go through the passages and break things down. So this is why books like this are extremely helpful. Okay. And look, Sister 916 Shan is in the building. If you need help, hit that sister up. Okay. Me, I'm only on an intermediate level. I'm not a master teacher with the biblical Hebrew, right? With Greek, I'm in second year Greek, but again, I hate Greek. I really do hate Greek, man. I hate Greek. I love Hebrew. I love Hebrew. I love Syriac. I love Ugaritic. I do not like Greek, man. I'm telling you. I only learned the Syriac so I can read the old Syriac Sinaiticus Palimpsest in its original language. And that is challenging. I'm still going through it. It's challenging. But I prefer that than reading Greek manuscripts. All right. I just like Semitic languages. I do not like Greek. Okay. That's all I got to say. I just don't like Greek. That's just me. All right. So those of you who are signing up for the Patreon, remember, we have the book suggestions there in the Patreon that you guys can look up. I have books on various things on New Testament, Israelite culture, health, survival skills, all of that. All of those books are available for anybody to access who is a Patreon pledger. Okay, so I'm going to drop the link there in the chat for Patreon. Anybody that want to support us with the Patreon, there it is right there. Click on that and pledge, family. Next Friday, we're going to be doing our drawing for bill payment. So remember, I told you we're going to pay somebody's bill. We hit 80 Patreon members. So we're going to do next Friday, do our drawing. Somebody's going to win a bill paid. Let's see, the thing is, I'm trying to figure out if I should just do a random drawing, because some people from Patreon don't respond to Patreon messages. or should I just do it with the people who respond to the challenge, right? And pretty much what you're going to do is just submit a bill to us. You can white out or get rid of any sensitive data. Just show us the bill amount and what it's for, and maybe an invoice for it or something like that. And then we're going to give you money to pay for it. All right, that's what we're going to do. Okay. So just let me know. Yo, Sister Sean, listen, sis, when you do Matthew 5, please do Matthew 5. Please break it down. Break it down. And I know you can't parse everything out on the fly. I just want you to do a reading and parse out some passages that are difficult, the difficult passages, right? That academia sees as being difficult. But parse it out, give us your insight. And I would love to post your video up here for you to do your reading, all right? I'm still learning, and I just have some questions, man. Just have some questions for these UAs or urban apologists. That's all. All right. Leo Sheets, are you a Patreon pledger? If you are, then respond when we next week. I'm gonna put up the post on Patreon so we can pay your bill. Just respond to it. If you're not a Patreon pledger, I just put the link there in the chat. I'll put it there again. Here it is right here. There you go, right there. So just click on that link and you can pledge to be a Patreon pledger, and then you'll be eligible for the bill pay that we do, right? All right, cool. Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. G-Con, I don't know what the heck you're talking about right now, but I'm moving forward, okay? KZ, I'm working on that too. I'm working on that. I just deal with biblical Hebrew. I'm not a fluid in modern Hebrew at all. I know some affinities based on knowing biblical Hebrew, but I don't care for modern Hebrew. I just like biblical Hebrew. So Darak Kanya, email me kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. I got some videos, some material if you're interested in learning the Hebrew. All right, at least giving you all the basics so you can begin parsing the text. Okay. LaDonna, are you asking her that because that's part of your final, or that's something that you just want to know personally? Shout out to my brother Born, an outlaw in the building. What's going on? He said that gospel you pushing is One West. Well, the gospel you pushing is Christian. I don't understand. It's evident that what I'm saying and what you're saying is going to be different from each other. It's that simple, right? You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So look, let's move past that. Anybody else, if you have a sincere question, let me know. Okay, definitely let me know. And I'll grab something, or I'll just find something just to share with y'all on here. All right. Oh, there's some people out there that are saying there's some people out there that's saying you know, I think y'all saying Happy New Year, because some of y'all celebrated it on Monday. Was it Monday? No, the 24th, yesterday. Because yesterday was a dark moon. So some of y'all are saying Happy New Year. So those of you whose New Year this is, Happy New Year to y'all. People say Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah. And then some people had their Passover. I think IUIC had their Passover because they looked at the full moon before the equinox because it was closer than the full moon after the equinox. So I think that's why they did that. I'm not sure, but they had their Passover on the 23rd going into the 24th, right? So from my position, Passover didn't start yet because the new year from my position doesn't start to April 7th to April 8th, right? April 7th going into April 8th, okay? So that's my position. So it's not New Year's for me yet, okay? But for some of the people are. Shout out to Percival Percival Bramwell in the building. Thank you so much for the super sticker that you posted in the chat. All right. G-Con says, your favorite pastor don't want no smoke. Ron Shields, fear me. Can't y'all tell? How I fear G-Con. You could just type him and me up and you'll see these interactions that we had. G-Con, nobody's afraid of you, G-Con, but you're going to troll, bro. What do you want to talk about? You don't want to talk about the subject matter that I want to do on my own show. This is not your show, bro. Go do your show. Go do your show. If you on my show, it goes by my rules. I want to go over Greek grammar with you according to passages in the New Testament that I've seen you and in the past you use recently within the past 6 months, and that's used in the past when you're part of Shield Squad. I want to go over that with you. And I was very specific, the second aorist tense. You say, tell me what it is so you can get some time to look it up and pull your resources up so you can't do it in real time. You can't do that. It's fine. No problem. Brother JT is going to sit there and troll and be the cheerleader. Yeah, Divine is scared of you. How am I scared of G-Con when me and him have interfaced several times in the past? How am I afraid of G-Con? It's not that serious, G-Con. Not that serious. G-Con, you must have amnesia because me and you have had one-on-ones in the past, bro. Matter of fact, you was on my platform last year. What is you talking about? But somebody else, Sam Addison kind of gave you that work, but you was on my platform last year. What are you talking about? Stop trolling. And JT, stop being a cheerleader because you're not man enough to get on this panel, bro. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. I have something specific. I'm asking you guys. You guys don't want to deal with it. That's fine. You have your own platforms. Go do your thing on your platforms. Okay? Simple as that. G-Con said, we never went one-on-one. All right, G-Con, look. What do you want to talk about, G-Con? Ain't no games. I do what I want to do on my channel. It's that simple. You do what you want to do on your channel. Do you understand that? I've interfaced with several Christian apologists, directly, indirectly, on my channel and on other channels. You're just one of many Christian apologists. Do you understand? So everything goes by the book that I play here, not by the book you play, bro. So you tell me what you want to talk about. Since you don't want to talk about what I said to you, what do you want to talk about? He says the gospel. Do you know how lengthy that's going to be? This is what I'm going to do, G-Con. I'm going to let you on since you're crying and you want to get on the platform. Okay. G-Con, you want to get in here? I'm going to let you in here, G-Con. I'm going to give you 15, 20 minutes. Let's build. And once I stick a fork in you, bro, just go on. You're going to go do a 4-6 hour show. That's how you know it's eating you up, G-Con. Why go do a 4-6 hour show on something simple that we discussing one-on-one? You feel the need to do that. You got to urge. You can't stop yourself from doing that. With me, I keep it moving. It's not that serious. It's not that serious, bro. But if you want to talk about the gospel, okay, let's get into the gospel. All right, G-Con, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to let you on. I'm going to let you on, G-Con. I'm going to let you on, G-Con. All right, I'm going to let you on. All right, let's go. And those of you got questions to ask him, feel free to ask it, and I'll ask him. There's a link right there. All right. I only want G-Con or Brother JT. Let one of them click on it and join in. All right. Everybody else, just fall back from now. I'm going to post the link up again before I let him off the hook, and y'all can join in and tear him up if you want. All right. All right. Shout out to Deacon Sakari in the building. What's going on, man? So there's the link, G-Con. All right. You joined in. All right. Let me turn. I think my speakers are on so I can hear you. I'm going to add you right now, G-Con. All right. Keep it on topic, G-Con. All right. What's going on?
Grace and peace, brother. Grace and peace. Sir.
Shalom. Shalom. What's going on, my brother?
Shalom, brother. So
waiting all night for this, right? This was the highlight of your evening.
No, this ain't no highlight. I mean, we already know what this is.
You see what time it is? G-Con, it's 3 in the morning, bro. Are you at work or you home?
I'm at the crib.
Oh, you home for once. Oh, you normally on the road.
I get home every day. I mean, I get home every other day at least.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So you just happened to be up and you saw that I was live, right?
Yeah, buddy, you know.
Okay, cool. So what's up?
All right, so like I said, I don't know Greek, you know what I'm saying?
Can you turn your camera on? Is that possible?
You said, can I turn my camera on?
Yeah.
Yeah. They see me?
All right, that's good. That's good. All right.
Uh,
So you talking about me. You see G-Con got the kufi on too, right? You see that? he look more like an Israelite than I do right now. All right, cool. What's up, man?
I don't know Greek, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so
But
forget that. Let's talk about the gospel. You want to talk about the gospel, right?
all right, so I'm gonna use my phone a little bit. So I gotta use my phone because I want to go to certain scriptures.
Do you don't have your computer in front of you?
I don't have my computer. I'm on my phone. I left my computer in the truck because I gotta go back to work tomorrow.
All right, I could pull the scriptures up on the screen too.
All right, cool. So
just tell me what you want. Let me hold on. Let me pull up. Let me get scriptures in front of you.
So you say that I deal with the gospel from a Christian point of view.
Yes, from the gospel of Christ perspective. Correct.
Right. And so what is that perspective that you say? What's that perspective?
That's Pauline theology. Have you read Gordon D. Fee's work on Pauline Christology?
Right. So what does it do? No, I never read it before. So what does that deal?
It's actually a good book. I think you would benefit for it. But it talks a lot about the presuppositions of the term kurios and how Paul uses it and infuses it in various epistles, right? And works his theology around some presuppositions, right? And those are the things that I question simply because I want to juxtapose it with what Yeshua taught, right? So from your perspective, would you say 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 1 on is the gospel in a nutshell?
Yeah, that's the subject matter. I mean, the theme of the gospel.
Correct. Now, did Yeshua teach that? If so, give me the passage. Let's go through it.
You said did Yeshua teach that?
Yeah. Give me the passage. Give me the scripture where he taught that.
He taught that he was the resurrection.
No. That he taught 1 Corinthians the way that Paul said that he received it. Give me where Yeshua taught that gospel. I want to know where he taught.
Okay, pull up. Okay, pull up first. What was that? First Corinthians 15?
All right, let's read that.
Yeah,
All right, let me grab it. I grab it for you. I grab it. See, I like when you civil like this. I don't like when you be yelling on your channel, bro. You gotta calm down sometimes, man. I don't want you to get hypertension or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
You know when I yell like that, I'll be having the One West in there. They ain't letting me talk, so
Facts, man. All right. So what you want me to pull up? 1 Corinthians 15. Let me get it.
Yeah. What verses?
All right. It's the first couple of verses. This is the joint that I use this because this is the joint that vocab uses all the time. All right. So I'm gonna do ESV. You cool with that?
That's cool.
All right, cool. So now it says, now I would remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you received and which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, right? Because he's talking about something that he received, right?
Mm-hmm.
That Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas and then to 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time, most of whom are alive, though some have fallen asleep. Then he appeared to James, then to all the apostles. Last of all, as to one untimely born, he appeared also to me. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 to 8 is a summation of the gospel. So I want you to show me where Yeshua in the synoptic gospels, where Yeshua was teaching this gospel.
Right. So first of all, here you said 1 through 8 when it I disregard far as when it says who he went to, but
okay, forget that part. Then. Let's go
right. So when it talks about the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ is the main thing that he's really talking about here.
Yeah. So tell me what Yeshua taught that in the synoptic gospels.
All right. So if you go to what is it? What's the verse when he says that if you ought not Christ have to was supposed to suffer? What text is that?
Let me see.
Let me get my other phone, matter of fact.
For sure.
Hold on real quick.
All right. Ahabala. Okay, cool. Just email me a reminder. We can set that up because I got time tonight. I don't know if y'all got time, but I got time tonight. I'm just waiting on GCon.
All right, so
Yep, go ahead, GCon.
okay, so let me Google this real quick. Did you ever find the scripture?
No, I mean, I seen. Are you talking about what he's talking about? The Christ has to suffer into the hands of the Pharisees and then be handed over. Okay, so but when he said that, he told them not to tell nobody, right?
Right. So that's that. Yeah. So that's the conversation between them.
Correct.
But then he goes also and tells them through Peter, Acts chapter 2, concerning, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, Acts 1. Acts 1, you saying, or Acts 2?
It might be Acts 1. It's Acts 1. And it's most likely Acts 1 or 2.
Correct. Remember I said the key term I said is synoptic gospels, where Yeshua preached that.
Okay,
gospel.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's so we deal with that in Corinthians when he's talking. I mean, when in the Gospels when he's talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, where is it at?
Mm-hmm.
What chapter is it at anyway? Hold on. See, I too much don't like StreamYard because I can't go up out of here on my main phone.
Okay.
And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in on here because my main phone is where I got my verses at.
Okay. I mean, you can go to Mark 8:31. He says it in Mark 8. He says it in Mark 9:31. So let's get Mark. So Mark 9 says, let me pull it on the screen. Let me do. Right. So he says, then he went on from there and passed through Galilee, and he did not want anyone to know, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, the Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they will kill him. And when he is killed after 3 days, he will rise. But they did not understand the saying and were afraid to ask him. Is that what you're referring to?
Right.
So that was the gospel, though. He didn't say that was the gospel.
Right. So it's clear that when you talk about the resurrection,
mm-hmm.
When Paul says over in 15, he says, "I declare unto you the gospel which I preach unto you, which ye also have received, wherein ye stand."
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures.
What scriptures is that?
So you're going to have that in John 1. You're going to have that in John 1.
That's outside the synoptic gospels.
No, not first. What's your synoptic gospel?
So synoptic gospel is Matthew, Mark, Luke.
Okay, so you want me to prove that in the synoptic? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave you already Luke, right? I mean, I gave you what did I give you, Mark?
No, I pull up Mark. So you're saying that right there was him telling them that this is the gospel. He's gonna die, basically. So right there, we see that he definitely gonna die. And so my position is that I'm Old Testament. Why you keep saying that? What you mean you Old Testament? You Tanakh only?
In other words, I will go to your scripture, which is Isaiah 53, or either Isaiah 61, Isaiah 52, 53, and also Isaiah 61, which talks about which we can see the gospel there.
Correct.
And also when Paul talks about Galatians 3:8, which refers us back to Genesis chapter 12:3. So we can discuss those scriptures right there.
Genesis 12:3.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the gospel of Christ that was taught by Paul and the gospel of the kingdom that was taught by Yeshua. So the reason why I say that you have a distinct gospel is because the gospel that you support is the gospel of Paul, and that's used as a lens to interpret what Yeshua taught in the synoptic gospels, right? So I'm saying the gospel that I teach is the one that Yeshua taught that's congruent with what we see in the book of Isaiah, because he mentions Isaiah several times during his ministry, right?
Isaiah 61, right?
And 52.
Okay, well, let's go to those then. I'm fine to go with those.
Sure. Okay, so go to Isaiah 52. I'll pull it up on the screen.
All right.
And I'm also gonna just so you know, I'm gonna pull up the Septuagint. So the reason why I have the Septuagint up is because if I'm looking at Isaiah 52, it's hard to do a one-to-one comparison, right? Because they're two different languages, right? But if I use the Septuagint, it makes it easy to cross-reference simply because a lot what we see in the Greek comes from out of the Septuagint, right? Would you agree?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull that up. So I'll let me pull this up first. And then just let me know when you're ready. And I'm gonna pull up.
All right, so do me a favor, put the link in the chat room again.
Which one?
The link to the StreamYard.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay, it's right there. Donnell, let me know if you can see it better like this. Let me know. Big Main. No, I don't know. Nobody's dissing Shaul on here. Nobody's dissing Shaul. You said zoom in some more. Okay, I'll zoom in some more. Hold on. It looks big on my screen, but I know it's probably not that big on yours. All right, there we go. Is that better? Let me know if that's better for y'all. So are you ready to go through Isaiah 52?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So it says, awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion. Put on your beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. It says, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for there shall be no more come into you that's uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake yourself from the dust and arise. Be seated, O Jerusalem. Loose the bonds from your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. So this is letting you know that Isaiah is telling them to rise up, right? Release the bonds of captivity. And then he goes in. He says, for thus says Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, you were sold for nothing and you shall be redeemed without money. So we see that theme show up in the New Testament, correct? Peter makes a reference to that, right? That you was not redeemed with silver and gold, but by the precious blood, right? G-Con.
Yeah.
I'll wait for you, G-Con. Let me know when you're ready.
Add me to that other one.
I hear what? Hello? Yeah, he's gone. Let me add him here. You there, G-Con?
Yeah, I'm here now. Yeah.
Okay, is that better for you?
That's better for me. All right, cool.
All right, cool. So
okay, go ahead. Let's go.
So Isaiah 52:3, I said, do we see this same thing echoed in the New Testament by Peter?
Okay, read it again. What was it?
It says, you were sold for nothing and you shall be redeemed without money. Where it says you are not redeemed by silver and gold, by things that waste away, but by the precious blood. So you would agree that we see this echoed in the New Testament, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's keep going. It says here, it says, for thus saith Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, Elohika, or Elohim, my people went down at the first into Egypt to sojourn there, and the Assyrian oppressed them for nothing. Now, therefore, what I have here, declares Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, seeing that my people are taken away for nothing, their rulers wail, declares Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, and continually all day my name is despised, right? Therefore, my people shall know my name. Therefore, in that day they shall know that it is I who speak to them. Here I am. Here we go. Verse 7. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who publishes peace, who brings good news of happiness, who publishes salvation, who says to Zion, your God reigns. The voice of your watchmen, they shall lift up their voice together, they shall sing in joy, for eye to eye they see the return of Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh to Zion. This is the gospel. Break forth together into singing, your waste spaces of Jerusalem, for Yah has comforted his people. He has redeemed Jerusalem. Now, look, he hasn't done it at this point yet, okay? Because this is Isaiah. They're about to go into captivity, but he's given them a prophetic word, right? Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh has bared his holy arm before the eyes of all nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of Eloheka, our power, okay? So that right there is the gospel. And then it goes on. If you look at the addendum part, the part go out from there, touch no unclean thing that we hear Shaul pick up. Go out from their midst of her, purify yourselves, you who bear the vessels of Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, right? So this could either be a reference directly to the Levites because they handled the vessels of the Most High in the temple, or this could just be a thing out to the peoples in general. And when it says the vessels, it's anything that they had in their possession that represented Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, right? Then it says, for you should not go out in haste, you shall not go in flight, for Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh will go out before you, and the power of Israel will be your rear guard, right? You shall not go out in haste, you shall not go out in flight, for he will go before you. Now we see echoes of this show up in Matthew or Matthew chapter 24 when he's telling about the end times. Have not your flight be in the winter time, he says, or on the Sabbath day, right? And then it goes there to 52:13 and beyond as far as my servant. So when I'm saying here, the gospel, that term good news that we see here, if we look at this word in the Septuagint, and because you know this is where you get your word evangelize from, evangelion, you get this word from here. You'll see it line up also when Yeshua mentions good news in the Synoptic Gospels, right? So this right here is talking about the salvation of Zion, and that there's going to be a time where Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh is going to return for his people. Yeshua was telling people to repent so they can be prepared for that time, because he says it's at hand. And just for the record, you didn't turn into a preterist on me, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, just want to make sure, because that's the new itch that's going around right now. People are trying to scratch. All right. So if you can just contextualize this for me and just let me know, is this the gospel message? Is this part of the gospel? Is this something different than what Yeshua and Shaul and the apostles were teaching? Can you give us your analysis on this, G-Con?
Right. So it's definitely a part of the gospel, because when you look at it, and you read it, you know what I'm saying, it's talking about the salvation of Israel. And so when you go farther back and you look at what was Israel chosen for, going back into when you get into the Torah, to when you start getting towards I want to say Genesis 12:3, for instance, it tells you concerning Abraham's assignment. He says that in thee shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. I will bless those that bless thee and bless those that curse thee. So we see clearly that Israel is being used for a conduit to bring about the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it also says that in Exodus that they're a holy priesthood, a holy nation of priests.
Correct. Exodus 19:6.
Right. And so if they are a holy nation of priests, then it is their assignment, you know what I'm saying, to declare unto the people the word, give unto the world these glad tidings that you see within this text.
Okay.
That's why when you read Isaiah 53, and when you start off in Isaiah 52, if you go a little bit farther,
13 on.
it says, Isaiah 52 and 13 is going to say here, behold, my servant shall deal prudently. He shall be exalted and installed, be very high. And many were astonished at his visage, so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of man. So shall he sprinkle many nations. The king set their mouths at him. It says, for that which had not been told them, shall they not see. Shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. So we see that the waiting on the Messiah, even from Israel themselves, is something to where we see that is going to be glorious for not just only Israel, which is Christ is the glory of them, but also for the nations too. Because when you look at it, it tells you a little bit up farther. It says the Lord verse 10, says, have made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all nations. And it says all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God.
Now slow down. Exegete that.
So when you say it's all the nations of the earth shall see the salvation of our God, right? So
which is, what is the salvation of in here when it says salvation of our God? What is that salvation there?
Salvation basically means either it can be dealing with one being saved, delivered, or the strength or the arm of the Lord. It has different meanings to it. But if you want to contextually look at
look at it here.
Yeah, if you want to contextually look at it, what it's meaning here is basically it's dealing with the arm of the Lord, basically.
The redemption of Zion, the redemption of Jerusalem. Read the verse right above it. It says it right here. Yod-Heh-Wav has comforted his people and has redeemed Jerusalem. So the redemption here has to do with the city of Jerusalem, in which he's going to return and he's going to restore his people to. So the nations is going to see this work in which he is restoring his people back to the city of Jerusalem. Right. So that's the salvation in this context.
Right. So in this
the nations are going to see. Go ahead.
Right. So in this salvation, the restoration of Israel is restoring the earth because Israel is in their position. And so when you see that he does that, it does a other plethora of scripture that agree to this passage. For instance, when you see that it says, this is Isaiah 11 and 10. And in that day, there should be a root of Jesse. Stand for an ensign of the people. So when you look at that, the root of Jesse, who is the root of Jesse?
Well, people will say that that's the branch, right? Or that's the one that comes from the loins of David that's going to go and be the king in the earth.
And it says he should be for an ensign of the people. What does that mean right there?
That's a symbol or a sign for the people.
Of what people?
The people of Israel.
Right. So look what it says here. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glory. So to it is the sign or the token, right?
The nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious. Now let's slow down there. When it says the nations inquire, what is that in reference to?
What do you mean when it says inquire?
Correct. Then it says of him shall the nations inquire. What are they going to inquire about? We have that contextualized here as well.
Oh, to it shall the Gentiles seek, basically.
Can you see my screen? I have the ESV.
Okay, I see. Okay, you read for ESV. Okay, I see. Where
in that day, the root of Jesse, who shall stand as a signal for the peoples, of him shall the nations inquire, and his resting place shall be glorious. So the reason why I'm saying this, G-Con, it's not just to disagree with you. It's just to see the light you shed on these passages, because in context, the nations is going to inquire of the root of Jesse, who's going to be a signal to the peoples. Why? Because we're going to go back to Isaiah 52, is that when the Most High comes back to restore Israel to Jerusalem, the waste places, that's when the nation is going to see his salvation, and that's when they're going to inquire about Israel at that time. They're going to want to learn about Israel, know about this power that has done this thing, because at the time of Isaiah, the Israelites were being treated as cannon fodder. You know what I'm saying? To put it.
And so you kind of, and so that's partial right there, because then we have a gathering prior to concerning Cornelius that experienced the salvation that Paul was speaking on in Acts chapter 15, and also in not Paul, but in Acts chapter 13. Just back to Isaiah 49 and 6, when you talk about his salvation shall be to the ends of the earth.
Right. So what I would like to do is this, and that's why I said I don't mind you bring up the Pauline epistles. That's fine. What I'm simply saying is I'm trying to show you that what we're seeing here that's being established in Isaiah is what we see Yeshua pick up and promote to his people, right? So I'm not nullifying what Paul did. I'm simply saying the gospel that I teach is what we're seeing right here. And that was picked up by Yeshua. But after he passed, his disciples and Paul came on the scene, they started to exemplify it even more, right? Because they had lived with him, except for Paul, and therefore they was bringing it out more after his death. So we had a transition that his death-bearing resurrection became a central element to their Christology and to the things that they were teaching after his death. I'm saying I teach the things that he was teaching while he was alive, which is in congruence with what we're reading here in Isaiah about salvation coming back to Jerusalem, and that it's going to be a sign unto the nations, and the nations are going to inquire of Israel based on what Yah's salvation, his arm, its power is going to bring back to Zion, to Jerusalem. So that's that's the gospel I teach. Now, if I'm and because my ministry is geared towards our people, that's why I teach that ministry, because I identify as Israelite. Outside of that, it's a little bit different, because then I teach the cleaving element that Paul taught. So that's why I can see why you say that the gospel that I'm teaching may be distinct from yours because of our audiences. I think yours is a broad audience to anybody. Mine's a little bit more narrow with exceptions. Just like Yeshua made exceptions, and I've given this challenge to all Christian apologists. They show me one passage where Yeshua preached the gospel to a Gentile. Nobody can give me that passage. It doesn't exist.
Right. And so what he says is first of all,
Yeah.
what he says is when he talks. Well, hold on. Let me respond to something you just said.
Sure, go ahead.
I refer to Paul because Paul takes you back to Isaiah 49:6. And Isaiah 49:6 it says, and he said, "It is a light."
Hold on. Let me bring it up, G-Con. You said Isaiah 49:6.
Yes.
All right, so people can see it. All right, go ahead.
He says, and he said, "It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the preserved of Israel." Would you agree that Jacob is concerning all of Israel, the tribes of Jacob?
Correct.
Right. So he says also to restore the preserved of Israel. What would be the preserved of Israel there?
The remnant.
That
doesn't get the remnant that are not destroyed through captivity.
Right. Right. So then it says, "I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles."
Correct.
Right. These are non-Israelites.
Correct. But then he says that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth.
And so the earth.
Correct.
So the reason why I'm showing this is because when you look at this, for instance, the very token that you have this in your flesh, which is the circumcision, is concerning Christ, the death, burial, and resurrection.
Wait, you said circumcision is pertaining to Christ?
Pertaining to Christ, the token that he gave them. That's Christ.
Wait. So circumcision is related to Christ? How'd you do that?
Right, because when you look at Isaiah, when you look at Genesis 17, he doesn't have these people just cutting in their flesh for no reason.
Correct.
Why?
Correct.
What this is talking about the passage of the seed, which is coming in the flesh, putting off the deeds of the flesh and establishing a covenant by bloodshed. And the 8th day is very important because this is what Paul was actually bringing out. And I'm not. If you look at it, when you say this is a token or this is a sign for the covenant, would you agree that that's what the text says in Genesis chapter 17?
Let's bring it up.
All right, so let's look at what it says.
Yeah, you said Genesis 17, right?
17 and 7.
This is interesting that you said this is Christ. 17 and what verse?
Verse 7.
Okay, go ahead, read it.
All right, so he says, "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant."
Okay.
"To be a God unto thee,
to
thy seed after thee."
Correct.
"And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God." He says, "And God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations." Watch what he says. "This is my covenant which ye should keep between me, you, and thy seed after." He says, "Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it should be a token of the covenant between me and you." So the circumcision is a token of the covenant.
It's a sign of the covenant. Okay.
Right. So in other words, in order for you to even engage into the covenant, there's blood that's shed within your foreskin.
So show me how within this context that the scribe is referring to that being Christ. I don't see that.
Okay, so one of the reasons what I see, and you say I can't go to Paul, so I'm just gonna.
No. You can if you want, but I mean, it's just going to make my point, right? Because the gospel that I teach, I'm saying, is the gospel of the kingdom, which is established in Isaiah 52 that you agree on. You brought it to 53. Okay, we'll take that. And then we looked at Isaiah chapter 11. All of these things is referring to the gospel of the kingdom that Yeshua was teaching while he was alive. After he died, we have a shift, right? Because it's that element of his death, burial, and resurrection is an addendum to what he was teaching, that he told them, don't tell nobody while he was alive, right? So then that again is so that way that message can get throughout the nations. Because remember, Israel was scattered at that time. Here, they're not scattered yet.
Right. So when you look at it here, right,
Go
When it
ahead.
talks about Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we talk about the circumcision. The token that we see is concerning Christ coming through the flesh of Israel.
And
right?
that's from Paul, correct?
Right, and not just from Paul.
Where,
Also,
where else?
Isaiah 49:6. Look what
All
it
right,
says.
let's get that. We just read that. That has nothing to do with Christ, though. But let's go back.
I'm sorry, Isaiah 42:6. I'm sorry.
Oh, 42 and 6. All right, let's get it. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and I will hold thine hand, and keep thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, for a light of the Gentiles. Now, that word covenant right there is berith, right?
Correct, but that has nothing to do with what we read in Genesis. This is
tell you why it has something to do with Genesis.
All right, go ahead. Let's see this.
When you look at it, the captain of Israel's salvation is who?
You said the what?
The captain of Israel's salvation is who? Who is the door?
According to what we're reading here.
In other words, who is the door? Who is
are
the
you
door?
Are you talking about Yeshua saying that he is the door?
He is the Pesach. He is the Passover.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how this refers to circumcision.
Because you can't even eat the circumcision. I mean, you can't even eat the Passover without being circumcised.
Correct. Same thing with the Gentile or the foreigner. Okay.
Right. So when you look at what this is saying is,
okay,
if the circumcision is concerned, you have the 8th day, you have the seed, and you also have the passing through Israel and the shedding of blood. You can't even engage or even enter the covenant without that. So when you look at it, what that's pointing to is Christ coming into the flesh through Israel, putting off the deeds of the flesh by shedding his blood. That's exactly what it's dealing with.
That's that. Also, that's that Christian magic, bro. No, I love it.
Not, okay, let me ask you a question, Ron.
Go ahead.
When you talk about the circumcision,
correct.
What does circumcision represent?
The covenant that we just read, that the Most High made with Abraham as a sign to remind them about what did he say prior to that about giving his seed the land of Israel, right?
So what's the point of them circumcising themselves what's the point of the penis, the foreskin? What's the point?
Like you said, a covenant has to be done with blood. Same thing where the Most High told Abraham to cut a sacrifice, and he went to sleep, and we seen the fire pass through it. These are all symbolic because blood has to be shed as a form of sealing a covenant between a deity and an individual.
So let me ask you a question.
Correct.
If it's right there on the penis, it's not concerning the seed?
Because you're saying the penis has sperm in it.
Exactly. So if
you can still get the sperm out without cutting the foreskin of the flesh, though.
But no, it's the passing through that is important. In other words, so listen. If I'm sitting up there talking to you and I say, I want you to cut the skin off your penis, your private part, right? Right. I want you to cut it off as a sign or a token. Then clearly it's introducing something concerning a seed, because that's where your seed passed through.
So, okay, well, now we're just going to say this. This is nowhere written in the text, right? This is something that you're interpreting, correct?
It's written in the text.
Show it to me. What's the passage?
Okay.
Let me get it.
It's Paul.
Give me the passage.
Okay, let's go to it. Yeah. Okay, this is okay. Hold on for a minute. What scripture is that?
Right, take your time, G-Con.
I know you don't know it because this is.
I'm waiting on you, G-Con. I want you to educate me. Let's go.
It's in Corinthians. Hold on for a minute. 1 Corinthians.
I wanted to read what you just said. That was some deep metaphysical stuff you just gave me, bro. I want to see if that lines up with the text.
Oh yeah, it don't line up.
All right, cool.
It's concerning Christ. I don't know why you don't know
that. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so let me see. Where is this going to be at? It's going to be in where is this at? Is it in Colossians? This is Colossians 2, and I believe it's 11. Let's see. Yeah, this is it right here. Right. So this is 2 and 11. So look what it says here. It says, in whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, and putting off the body of sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ. So Christ,
Okay.
Christ is the circumciser. He is the one that Paul is referring to here when it says that in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth. He says not into thy to seeds, but into thy seed. As
All right.
So what he's saying is Christ is the circumciser, and everything pertaining to that circumcision is Christ, basically.
Okay, let's read it in context, right? Because I don't see where it says it like that. I see where you would get that from, but let's read it in context. Colossians 2 and 8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. For in him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily, and you have been filled in him, who is the head of all rule and authority. In him also you were circumcised with a circumcision made without hands. Slow down. This is not comparing the physical. What he's talking about here is not saying that this represents the physical circumcision, which was the initial covenant that the Most High made with Abraham. It's telling you it's distinct. It's a different type of circumcision. He says, not made without hands.
Hold
on. I'm gonna finish and I'm gonna let you go. By putting off the body of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ, having been buried with him in baptism, in which you were also raised with him through faith in the powerful working of God who raised him from the dead. This is making a distinction between a circumcision you get in Christ and the physical circumcision of the flesh.
No, brother. It's showing
okay, go ahead.
One is a token, and this is the reality.
So even if that's the case, the reality is not, he's not saying the reality replaces the token. That's not what he's saying.
Let me just finish, brother. I didn't get
sure, go ahead.
Argument. What I'm saying is this is you looking at the token, but then you miss the reality, which is Christ. That's what it's saying. So what you so let me ask you this, Ron. You actually think that the Lord just got these people in the wilderness just having a cookout and a barbecue?
What?
None of that don't look at signs or reality.
Wait, slow down, G-Con, slow down. What did you just say? Say that one more time.
I said you actually think that the Lord just got these people in the wilderness having a cookout and barbecues, sacrificing, and none of that points to Christ. So the token that I'm showing you is a token that points to the reality, which is Christ coming in the flesh, the seed, and then look at the 8th day. Why on the 8th day? What is the sign behind the 8th day?
We got to slow you down. You said a lot of things there before we get to the 8th day. This is incredible, G-Con. I didn't know that you had this type of doctrine. It's interesting. It's very deep. So let's slow it down for a second, right? You said one is a token and one is reality, right? And you're going to get that based on the shadow, right? The shadow part that Paul talks about, like all these things were a shadow, but it's the image of him that is to come, right? So the first thing, hold on. We're gonna get there, right? Because remember, when we first started off, I told you that the gospel that I share is distinct from the gospel of Christ that we find in Paul's theology, right? And what I'm simply saying here is that the physical token of the covenant that you brought us to had a particular context, and that's everlasting. Okay, that covenant, right? And when we get from there, because again, that had nothing to do with Christ when it's initially established, it had nothing to do with Christ. When Paul's talking about here, he is showing a comparison and a contrast between the physical works and talking about the circumcision of Christ. So I'll give you an example. If we go to Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 16, where Moshe is telling the people to circumcise the foreskin of your hearts. Can you relate that to what we're reading here as far as the circumcision of Christ?
Yeah, definitely. Because
okay, but that will be a different circumcision than the physical circumcision. They're two different things.
Listen, everything that you're talking about everything. Listen, everything that Moses was talking about is the tokens or signs is pointing to Christ. Listen, the circumcision, when you look at the circumcision, it's concerning the seed. And because let's go back and read it. Let's look at what it says.
Yeah, show me where it says it's concerning the seed. I would love to see the circumcision concerning the seed. Go ahead. 17 where? Colossians 2:17?
I'm back in Genesis 17.
Oh, back in Genesis. Okay. You got to let me know where you at so we can follow you. Okay, 17.
All right, this is 17. All right, let's look at verse 13. Let's start at verse 13 because I think.
All right. Cool. Go ahead.
No, let's read 12. Yeah, let's read 12.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I'm gonna start at 11. I think it says, "And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you." So you do understand this is a token. This is a sign, right?
It's a sign. Correct. Go ahead.
Right. So a person cutting on their penis, shedding blood, is a sign of the covenant.
Correct. Not of Christ.
Okay, cool. So let's look what it says.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so this why it's good that you probably might need to want to go check out Paul, because Paul is deep on this.
I'm familiar with Paul. I'm gonna go with you through Paul. That's why I had to check you in Colossians. But go ahead.
Okay, I mean you didn't really. You just
I'm
he that is 8 days old to circumcise among you. So the 8th day is very important. There's every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money of a stranger, which is not of thy, bought with thy money, must needs to be circumcised. So
now this is what he's saying to Abraham, right? When we get to Exodus chapter 12, it's specific to the ones who want to engage in Passover, right? It gets more specific when we get into Exodus. Here, this is referring to Abraham and his household and going on for further generations. But then when we get to the point, we get to Exodus 12, it's more specific, where it talks about the stranger that's among you that wants to partake in the Passover. He has to be circumcised.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm showing here is this. If you are bought with money and it is not of the seed of Abraham, you have to be circumcised, right?
If you want to keep the Passover. You know what I'm saying? If you want to,
there's no Passover here.
Not that's what I'm saying. Not at this point, because he's talking to Abraham. But as they go further, where the Israelites are now amongst other strangers, it becomes slightly different.
Okay, right. So let's deal with this.
Okay, let's stay here then. So yes, according to this, yes, I'll concede. Yes.
So then it says, "He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs to be circumcised."
Okay.
And my covenant, watch this. My covenant should be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant.
Okay.
So the covenant or the token or the sign of the token is in the flesh for an everlasting covenant. Now I gotta ask you, is it also in the flesh of those that are not of the seed of Abraham?
If they were purchased according to this, because remember, we stick in what you're saying here.
Right.
If it was a stranger that you purchased with money and they live in your household, then they need to be circumcised. But if they're not in your household and you didn't purchase them, they don't have to be circumcised.
Exactly. So I agree with that. And
that's
why, and this Paul speaks on that note too, talking about how we was bought by blood. But let's continue.
So I'm just trying to figure out how this is the circumcision of Christ. How is this the same thing? This is not the same thing, G-Con.
I'm finna show you.
Okay, go ahead.
All of this is pertaining to the seed, which is Christ. You can't get around it. Now look
You
what it
saying
says.
The seed, which is Christ, when this is pertaining to things before Yeshua came on the scene.
Exactly. It was pointing to him. He's the one who was going to cause the deliverance in the first place.
Are you saying that nothing was fulfilled until Christ came on the scene?
No, I'm not saying nothing was fulfilled. I'm showing you that all the prophets, as Christ said, was expounding on him and what his work was.
He said that?
Exactly.
Show me where he said that. You talking about when he says, "Lo, I come in the volume of the book"?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay, show me where he says that. What passage is that? Let's go to that. Because I'm still trying to get how this physical circumcision has to do with Christ. There's a separate circumcision when you cutting the foreskin on your heart. These are the things that Yeshua, when he came, he was expounding to the people. Just like when he was talking to the Pharisees and say, yo, you guys tithe, come in, mint, and all these other things, but you forgot the weightier matters of the law, love, mercy, justice. That's the circumcision of the heart. One is tied to the covenant, the physical covenant that you have, that when you see it, it's a reminder that you and your forefathers have been in covenant with a patron deity, which means there's stipulations to it. But there's another aspect of it that the people were forgetting about. And that is the circumcision of your heart. That's the circumcision of Christ. That's what he came to bring to the people. He said, look, the physical circumcision was one thing, but now the circumcision that Yeshua is bringing is to get you guys to move beyond that because you think that's enough. It's not enough. So this is what he was laying out. He didn't say, okay, yeah, now the circumcision of Christ is in place of the physical circumcision, or the physical circumcision is actually telling you about the circumcision of Christ. That's not what Paul is saying. Paul is saying two different things.
I disagree with that. Luke 24,
okay, cool.
27.
No problem.
Luke 24:27.
Where we going? You said
Luke 24:27.
Luke 24:27.
All right, he says he says
hold on. Let me bring it up. Hold on. Luke 24:27. All right. Go ahead.
All right, it says, and beginning at Moses, right? So what would be Moses to you?
That would be the first 5 books, you would say, right?
All right, let's go.
Uh-huh.
Beginning at Moses and all the prophets. What would be all the prophets to you?
That would be the Nevi'im writings, right? So Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, right?
Right.
Zechariah, Malachi.
Expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself.
So he didn't. So you gotta see what it's saying there. The things that concerned him. So when he was speaking in his ministry, he cited, right? He cited various quotations that came from Moshe and the prophets, right?
So let me ask. Hold on. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Hold on.
So that's what he's referring to.
So let me ask you a question. No. Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is Moses? He says Christ said he's the Alpha and the Omega, right?
In the book of Revelation, after he died.
Right. So if he's telling you that he's in from Moses all the way to the prophets, do you know he's spoken of in every book?
So what I would say is that would be how Christians would look at it, right? What I'm saying is whatever he quoted from them that concerned him, that's what he's referring to in Luke 24:27.
But in all, though, he says all the prophets. Was it in
and all the scriptures, the things concerning himself? All of it didn't concern him. So are you telling me every word, every sentence concerned Christ?
Right. So, no, this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that in every scriptures, in all the prophets, in Moses' writings, in the prophets, there are things that is concerning Christ. So I have to ask you this. What is in Moses' law that concerns Christ?
Whatever he quoted from Moses' law. So let's get into it. So now we're going to look at the things that he quoted from the Old Testament so we can see what things he was referring to specifically that concerned him. Would you like to do that? Let me bring up my list.
Well, hold on before you get to doing it, because this is going to be a long one.
No, it's not going to be a long one. I'll give you another 12, 13 minutes. I'm gonna keep it real concise for you. Just let me know when you're ready.
Hold on, because he didn't quote. You're going to have to go through all 66 books.
No, I don't. I have a list of those things.
Oh, so it ain't in all 66?
I'm going to show you.
All right, well, go ahead then. I'm going to take it. Hey, hold on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. If you got to go, step away. I'm going to wait till you come back.
I hear you. I'm taking what I got with me. Go ahead.
All right. So, looking at the things that Yeshua quoted from the Torah, right? One of the things he quoted when he was talking about the Torah was when he was saying that the Shema, right? When he referenced the Shema, we can find the Shema where? In Deuteronomy, correct?
Yeah, I heard you. Go ahead, brother.
Are you good, G-Con? Wait till you come back, man.
No. I'm sitting right here. You said do we find the Shema and
okay. So then let's keep going, right? So if we go also to the Sermon on the Mount, he made references to thing saying, you have heard it said in the days of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable for judgment. We find that in Exodus chapter 20, verse 13, right? So he's making a reference to what we're finding in Exodus, correct?
Yeah.
He goes on to say in Matthew 5 and 27, you've heard it say you should not commit adultery. We find that where? In Exodus 20 and 14, Deuteronomy 5 and 18, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we keep going. Matthew 5 and 31, when he says a divorce, we find that in Deuteronomy 24 and 1, Matthew 5 and 33, when he says you should not swear falsely, we find that in Numbers 30 and 2, Deuteronomy 23 and 31. You heard that it was said an eye for eye, tooth for a tooth, which is Matthew 5 and 38. We find it in Exodus 21, 23 to 25, Leviticus 24, 19 and 20, Deuteronomy 19 and 21. So if we stop right there just for a second, because you want to deal with the Torah, right? I just told you several things that he quoted from the Torah, which would be the book of Moses. And it says that things that concern him. Prophetically, he's coming on the scene to affirm certain things about a prophet that's to come, correct? You would line it up with what? Deuteronomy 18. You would say that he is the prophet that the Most High put his words in, that if you don't hear him, would you say that that refers to Yeshua as well? The prophet that's to come, Deuteronomy 18?
Yeah.
Yes? You don't sound too confident about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's Christ. I understand the argument with that, how they want to say
it could be Joshua or somebody else, correct?
Yeah.
Then he go into what is the greatest commandment? To love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, and might. We see that in Deuteronomy 6 and 5, Leviticus 19 and 18, right? So these are things that he's quoting from the Old Testament. Then there's prophecies that are allusions that are made by the scribes of the New Testament that they say that this points to Christ as well. So we find them in Moshe's writings or the prophet's writings. These are the things that's concerning him. Remember when he told them to go? I told you before, don't bring no script with you, no bag, no swords. Now I'm telling you that to go buy swords, go buy this. Why? He says, so that way it could be fulfilled the scriptures that I'm being numbered with the transgressors. So all the things that he's quoting from the Old Testament, we have them here. We see
why
them.
you didn't quote the one in Genesis when he talks about eternal life?
Which one? Which? Give me a passage.
When he talks about things concerning the tree of life, or when he says
give me the passage, G-Con.
All right, okay, so hold on, Ron Shields. I'm just gonna say this right here.
Go ahead.
Now, and I gotta say this. I've been listening to you for a long time, bro.
I know you do. I see you make live streams about me, so I'm sure you do.
And so listen, before, hey, look, I listened to your teachings on Genesis chapter 3.
All right, correct. You want to go there?
And so in Genesis chapter 3, let's go there.
Okay, let's go there. Let's go Genesis chapter 3. We're going to end off with that, right? So let's go Genesis chapter 3.
All right.
We can pick up another time, right? And it's just Genesis 3. So we here. All right, tell me where you want to go. You want to go to where it says in her seed?
Nope, I don't want to go there.
All right, cool. Tell me where you want to go.
I want to go to one of your favorite ones.
Which one?
It was pretty good. It was an old sermon you had. You thought I didn't listen to it, but I listened to it.
All right, which one?
Watch this. Let's go right here in 21. Let's go
21. 21. All right, let's get there. All right, here we go.
Now, when you broke this down, you did an excellent job on it.
Well, which sermon are you talking about? The one I did years ago?
Oh, it was old.
Oh, that's when I was transitioning. That don't count, G-Con.
Yeah, it was old. So look, what you did, you broke this down pretty good.
Go ahead.
And this was 21. You says, and unto Adam also, and to his wife, did the Lord God make coats of skins and clothes. You remember how you broke that down?
Yes, I remember that.
Tell the people how you broke that down.
The sermon he's talking about, I said that, and this was back in early 2014. I said that this is our first example of a sacrifice, and it was initiated by the Creator and not by man. That's referring.
You know what's important about this text?
And the clothing of this is representative of, him not looking upon their sin or a way of forgiving their sin, right? And that way, every time they had this, the blood had to be shed in order for these skins to be made, lamb skins or whatever skins he made. So that way he can clothe them, because their clothing of their unrighteousness was as filthy rags, like Isaiah says. The fig leaves wasn't enough to cover them. So he had to make the sacrifice in order to cover them, right? Yeah, that's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Now, that's me as a Christian, though.
Yes, that was excellent.
I was
Now,
transitioning, but yeah, go ahead.
right. Now, I don't know why you transitioned, because this text that you see, it's also in reference to the disconnection from the creator that we see that took place, right?
Okay.
Because of sin, right? And Paul mentions this also too.
Correct.
The disconnection, which causes the veils to go up and causes someone else to guard something or to keep something, which was the job of Adam and Eve, right? They were the keepers of the way of the tree of life, right?
I don't say they were the keepers of it. They man was created to till the garden, right?
They told them to keep it.
He didn't say to guard it. Like the guardian of the tree of life was a cherub, was an actual entity.
Right, we know that.
Abraham, Adam, that had the fiery sword to keep him away. So he had a guardian already for the tree of life.
Now what's the they was the listen, what is the when if I tell you to keep something,
okay,
right, or to tell what is the word for that word keep right there?
It depends. So let's go look at it, right? So this is Genesis chapter 2, right? That's where we're going.
Yep.
Okay, let's get Genesis 2. All right, so let's go down. Dust of the earth, planted a garden in the east, where he put man whom he had formed. Out of the ground, he may spring up every tree that's pleasant. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Blah, 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 blah. He commanded man, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil you should not eat. Of it, surely you should die. So,
which I think it was verse,
let's see.
What verse is it? It says, Lord planted a garden.
Correct. So
this is verse
5.
15, verse 15.
15? Let's go to 15. All right, go ahead.
All right, so it says, and the Lord took the man and put him into the garden.
It's Adam.
Dress it and to keep it. Now go look at it.
I see what you're saying. So this word shamar is what we typically see in Deuteronomy, right? The shamar, depending upon the tense, right? We can know it could be something in a cow stem that could just mean a simple watching over something. But when it's in a PL stem, it's more intensive, right? Would you agree?
Right. So click on the what's called.
So we're looking at it right here, right? Just so that people can see what we're looking at, right? Ule Shamrah, right? So for the people that's watching, parsing this out, I wouldn't say it's not in the PL stem. So it's not
click the parse button on it.
All right, let's kick. There's no parse button up here. What are you talking about?
I see a parse button right there.
I see a phrase button. This phrase button.
I'm tripping. Yeah, phrase. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this so people can see what we're talking about, because you're saying that his job was to be a guardian over it. Is that what you're saying? Like to guard the tree of life?
His job was to keep the garden, to keep all of that.
Yeah, but that's the garden. That's not the tree of life.
Right. So listen, he has the way to the tree of life. He could partake of the tree of life.
He can, correct, but he was prevented from doing so.
And he was put out, and when he was put out, somebody else was told to guard the tree of life.
Correct. Right? Correct.
Now,
so where you getting at with that?
What I'm getting is Revelations when it says, "Blessed are those who has the right to the tree of life." And so when you look at Adam, the entrance rate of this, or the doorway in Genesis 4 is the doorway or passageway to this very garden that you see. In other words, for man to get back to or return or repent or turn back to this phase of the garden where there was this God meeting with man, and even your tabernacles is positioned almost just like set up like this garden actually. And even when you get to the Revelations, it's set up like this garden.
But I'm trying to figure out what you mean. So you're saying that Adam was supposed to guard, because we're looking at the cow stem here, right?
Right.
This is the infinitive construct. That's what it looks like to me, right? So it's like ongoing, right? That he keeps it, right? Keeps. That's when we put an S plural as your infinitive construct. He's not guarding, because guarding would be the PL stem, which would be more intensive. He's just there just to maybe watch over it, right? So it's a different. So it's like, I give you an example. When Yeshua was talking about the hireling and the actual shepherd, where the shepherd was the one that actually lays his life down, but the hireling was just there to watch and observe. He didn't really do the same thing the shepherd did. So I would say that the PL stem of Shema will go to the angel that we would call angel, but the entity that was sent to actually guard it with a flaming sword, so that way man can get access to it. So you're saying the tree of life. I think you're trying to say that we're going to get access to the tree of life according to the book of Revelations, correct? Is that what you're saying?
For the healing of the nations.
For the healing of the nations, because if they ate it, right, they would be healed. Right. But in a sense, well, with the prophecy says in that day you will die. So some kind of decay of some form happened. And if they would have ate from the tree of life, they would have been healed. Correct? Would you agree with that? So I'm trying to figure out. So how are you tying this in with Christ? Are you tying Jesus?
Yes, because what I'm showing you with Adam, Christ is the second Adam. He gives them, if anybody entered through the door to get to that tree of life, they must enter in by him.
By Yeshua, you saying?
I'm sorry?
By Yeshua?
By Yeshua, yeah.
So he's the door to the tree of life, you're saying?
He's the door. Now, most people will say, well, Christ is that tree of life. When in reality, he is, because he is the passageway to that which is everlasting. So even if it's dealing with physical or spiritual, the spiritual is something that we see that a person must deal with first, and then to be sustained physically, even within this text, this very text. So what I'm saying is this: is Adam's administration that he had was to till and keep that garden. That was his administration. When Adam sinned against the Creator, all of that was closed off, and that position that he was given to do that very thing, to keep that garden, just whether it's as material till, that position was given to the cherubim. Now the cherubim is the doorway, we know that comes from the Near East. Right?
Correct.
So in the Near East, in order to enter through a doorway, you must go through the cherubim, the keeper of that doorway.
Some kind of entity, correct.
Right. So that's what Adam was. And what it's showing us this is when you look at what Adam did, Adam gave his administration to someone other than himself, or even when you.
So you're saying that so now his administration, he forsook it because of disobedience, and now that entity is now taking up that role until Yeshua comes on the scene. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not, and so what I'm saying is the very key. I mean, the tree of life is being guarded, and he doesn't have pathway to that anymore.
Was Jesus that cherub? You want to say? Is that your Christophany?
No, I don't believe that Jesus was that cherub. But what I'm saying is this: is I believe that his administration as keeping that garden, that was the place where he was with God.
So here's my question: so that tree of life, where is that? Where's that gonna appear? When we look in the book of Revelation, is that going to appear in Jerusalem?
In the new heavens and new earth.
New Jerusalem, correct?
Yeah, and to get into that tree of life, you have to be in Christ, and you have to go in them gates of Israel.
So watch this. So in the end times, right, when Yeshua returns, if we look at him as being the king or the branch or the root from the stump of Jesse, the stump from the root of Jesse that we see in the book of Isaiah, would you need to go through that king in order to get access to that region if he's being established by the Most High? That king has to grant you access to the kingdom, correct?
If you're in the new heavens and new earth, you already got access to it.
Correct. So I'm saying the king has to grant you access to the kingdom.
Right.
So in the end times, when we look at it from the Nevi'im, the prophets, and they're talking about things about this branch that's coming. He's going to be a righteous king, right? And he's going to come and he's going to establish the kingdom on the earth, right? You agree with that, correct?
Right.
If that king is Yeshua, then he would be the one to give the remnant who are the chosen access to those intimate parts of the kingdom, correct? Because everybody else is going to be shut out. Yeshua says there's going to be many in that day that says, Lord, Lord. He's going to say, get away from me. I know you're not. The kingdom's going to be shut off from them, correct?
Why don't they have access, though?
You said, why don't they have access? That's a separate question. I'm just saying there's going to be access to the kingdom, and the king has to allow who he wants to have access, correct?
But I tell you, they don't have access because of what Adam did, right?
Well, the kingdom didn't at that time. It's not there at the time he's speaking.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They don't have access to the tree of life no more because of Adam, right?
Correct.
Right. So if that's the case, then the tree that he had access to, the tree he was told to keep or till, or that very tree, he doesn't have access to that tree because of his sin, and because of his sin, there's death when it comes to Christ.
Correct. So when Yeshua was talking about the kingdom that's to come, and we see him as that coming king that's prophesied by the prophets, he's coming from the line of David, which is important, right? Because that shows his royal heritage, correct? And as a king, he's being established so that way the kingdom can be resurrected, because the kingdom at that time in the end times is going to be dead, it's going to be trampled on by the Gentiles, etc. So when the king comes back and he is warring with the enemies of Israel, and then he establishes that kingdom. Some people are millennialists, right? They believe it's going to be 1,000-year rule. So people that's going to be inside that kingdom are the ones that are going to get access to that tree of life when it comes, because the king has to grant you access. If the king has shut you out, you can't get access. So it's a way that you can still say it without making it seem like there's some neutral individual that's coming on the scene to just give everybody an opportunity to the tree of life. No, it's the ones that cleave unto Israel. So that way, when the end times come, they'll be gathered together with Israel. The enemies he'll fight, which we see in Revelation chapter 19, and those who are within the kingdom.
Wait, hold on, brother.
The ones that the king gives access to.
Everybody's not going to last to the end of the world. So
of course not. I agree.
So there's a salvation that we see that is now that we see. Go ahead, so you can use the bathroom. She got to use the bathroom. So there's
somebody says, Kevin says, it was you Israelites who persecuted Jesus Christ. That's funny. He says that because it was also Israelites that followed him. So what makes you think that we're the ones on the side of the persecution?
Right. So hold on, brother. So it's not them. First of all, the doorway is Christ. The conduit that he has used for Christ to come about was Israel. So when you look at it, the more important person that is here, that even causes Israel to be victorious, is Christ, because they sinned and broke the law.
The king. He is the king that gives people access to the kingdom.
Right. So hold on. That's what I'm saying. So if he's that king and he says that he is the door,
that's why he's the door. He's the king.
Right. He's the king. So that's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
If a person right now who dies right now and receive Christ right now,
talking about Gentile or Israelite or anybody,
if they receive him right now, right, those people are not going to last all the way to the end. So your end is when
the end could be tomorrow, G-Con.
Right, it could be tomorrow. So hold on. If you can die tomorrow, that's your end. Paul said the end is here.
Correct.
So therefore his end, that was his end.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that you can't be looking at it and saying that, oh, we just gonna wait all the way until this happens. No, if a person is a non-Israelite or an Israelite that dies today, if they die in the Lord, then they have a place preserved for them.
Yeah, because they cleaved unto the king. They cleaved unto an Israelite. That's why they're able to get in. Right.
And so how they're able to get in is because they believe the word that was given unto them from the Israelite. That's why he says how
correct.
Psalm 61. When he says how beautiful are the feet of them that preach glad tidings. I got one more scripture for you. Then that one more scripture
Oh, come on, G-Con. Let's finish this up. We almost done.
No, because I got my daughter right in my hand. I got one more scripture for you.
All right, go ahead.
I got, Isaiah, if you can't pull up Isaiah 25.
Isaiah 25?
Yeah, Isaiah 25. And I want to show you why it's important that the world
25 and what?
25 and go to verse 7.
Okay. You want me to read it?
Yes.
And he will swallow up on this mountain the covering that is cast over all peoples, the veil that is spread over all nations.
I stop right there. So
okay,
there's a veil and a covering that is over all nations, right? That's what this text says.
Okay, keep going.
All right, so look what it says. It says, where are we at? You reading the top. Go ahead. That's good. I mean, I see you got to go to the top.
I mean, just tell me where you want me to go.
All right, so then go hit because you're supposed to go to 8 after that.
Okay, go to 8. Want me to read it? He will swallow up death forever, and Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, Elohim will wipe away tears from all faces, and the reproach of his people he will take away from all the earth, for Yah has spoken. This is very, very specific.
Right. So if you look at it, 25 and 7 is concerning all nations and all peoples, right?
He will swallow up on this mountain the covering that is cast over all peoples, the veil that is spread over all nations. He's going to get rid of it. Again, this is future. He's going to get rid of that veil that is covering all the nations, right? And the veils are covering, right? So things can be revealed. Go ahead.
Right. And so people are blind, right?
Oh, correct, because look what they're doing to Israel at this time.
Now, not just Israel. Israel is blind. He said, who is yet blind but my servant Israel?
Correct, but now we're talking within the context of the other peoples.
Right, so all is he said there is none righteous, nor not one. He said, for they're all going astray, talking about Israel, right?
At that time, they were going astray, correct, because they were about to go into captivity because of their disobedience.
Right, so he said, listen, he said that they did worse than the nations that were surrounding them, right?
Well, Ezekiel says that Judah was worse than Samaria and Gomorrah.
Sodom. The kingdom.
Correct.
So this is what I'm saying.
All right.
In this text is it since the beginning, when we see, and I know you listened to Michael Heiser, I know you did, because I could tell about some of your teachings, and I'm not just saying he just teaches that, other people teach it too.
Correct. I teach it too. I mean, I listened to him before, and I know his position on this.
Right. And so would you agree that there is a lot of deception that is going on within this world right now? The majority of people are deceived.
Correct. I agree.
Okay, so would you agree partially what Christ did is what he did with the disciples caused a awakening or a rebirth to take place?
Correct. I agree with that.
And so when with the
I think it was usurped over time, but I agree that was his initial cause. Correct.
Right. So the fullness, they're the first fruit. So what about the fullness? Because he said both houses in Isaiah chapter 8. It says in Isaiah 8, it says both houses will reject him, right? And it says that when they reject him, he says, seal up my testimony among my disciples. Right? So we see that the first fruits received him, but the rest were blinded. This is what Paul is talking about.
Okay.
Right? Now,
I'm still trying to figure out verse 8, because verse 8 is very specific. It says he's going to remove the reproach of his people. They didn't say about all nations.
Right. What is the reproach of his people?
The things that they were doing.
Right,
that was not in this. That was not what he commanded them to do. He's going to remove that reproach from his people, because once they sin, especially capital offenses, you're supposed to die. So as a nation of people, they didn't judge everybody who was doing wickedness, because the some of the righteous were either getting carried along with it or were staying out of it. That was a reproach because they broke the commandments. He's doing this for them. So even though he's moving the veil of the cloak from the peoples, and so they can see the salvation that he's working on with his people within this context of Isaiah.
Right. Well, hold on, bro. Hold on, because it's more than that. Because when you
no, read verse 9. It will be said on that day, behold, this is our power. We have waited for him that he might save us. This is Yod-Heh-Wav, and we have waited for him. Let us be glad and rejoice in his salvation. This has nothing to do with the nations. This has to do with Israel.
But the reason why you can't isolate this text is because remember we read other texts that says that his salvation is not just for Israel; it's going to spread all through the ends of the earth.
Yes, for what? See, we read it in context. His salvation. What is the salvation? Redeeming Israel from their destitute state because of their disobedience. That is the salvation that the nations are going to witness happen in Jerusalem with the people of Zion.
When you read this text and it says that when he takes off the blinding of all the nations, you know why the blinding is taken off of all the nations?
So they can see this salvation. So they can be a witness to it. So they can inquire of it that we read in chapters going forward in Isaiah.
You know what's funny about that? Because Psalm 76 says that when Israel get in their position like they should get in their position, right?
It says Psalm 76.
Psalms 76.
Okay, written by Asaph, right? So this was just a psalm when they were still in the kingdom. This wasn't in a state of depravity that they faced in Isaiah. Okay, so go ahead. Because this is when they're being attacked by the time David is trying to establish the kingdom. Asaph is writing all of these psalms about things that are going on while David is fighting these other nations.
Psalms 86.
Oh, 86. Okay, let's go to 86.
Let's see. I think it's 86.
All right. Do you have a verse?
Where is it at?
Oh, I love this. I love 86. This talks about the divine counsel a lot. So where we want to go?
Where's this? Hold on. Is it because it's hard for me to see when you read from the ESV because it don't read the same. So let me make sure.
Yeah. Take your time.
Psalm 76. No, it's not Psalm 76.
Shout out to Gartrub and Kenny for the donation. I appreciate that, my brother. Just want to make sure I give you a shout out before me and G-Con wrap it up. So go ahead, G-Con. I'm letting you off the hook because there's some things I want to ask you, but I'm letting you get the last point off.
All right, cool. Well, hold on.
Sure, take your time.
I'm trying to work from this phone, iPad at the same time.
That's cool.
He locked my computer up, so I'm working from his iPad.
That's why you can't use it?
Yeah, because I don't mess with iPads. I don't mess with them at all. And then he locked my stuff up, and so I can't even get it.
How old is he?
I can't get my presets package. My son's 6.
How?
He's 6, and he locked my computer
He's
up.
6, and he locked your computer. Wow, G-Con. You know why he did that, right? Because you kept teaching Christianity, and he was tired of that, man.
Nah. He did.
I know we Israel, Dad. What you doing?
He got it. He kept trying to. All right, so hold on.
Shout out to Ayel Israelite building. Go ahead.
Psalms 96.
Psalms 96. Okay.
Is it?
Oh shoot, I spelled it wrong. It's Psalm 96.
All right. Psalms 96.
Rise up from the judge. So why are you looking for that? Why do you think that Jews, like the Jews, I don't know who you consider to be Jews. I think you are very lenient when it comes to that, but why do you think the Jews don't see it the way you see it or the way Christians see it?
Oh, you talking about the non-Messianics or Messianic Jews?
Yeah, non-Messianic Jews.
First of all, they don't even really deal with the Moshiach, so anything that's concerning.
No, they do. They just don't subscribe to the New Testament.
Right, but they don't deal with ultimately. They believe there's many Moshiachs, which there is, but they don't believe in like one who we see as the branch. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, they do. There's the two Messiah theory that's actually posited from the Talmud, right? The one that represents what we see, the suffering one that we see represented in Zechariah, and then the one that's coming to be a king that we see from the Isaiah and Jeremiah.
Right, and so both of these crowns are taken and putting on one person, and so that's kind of odd.
Going to Zechariah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Right. And
Uh,
so what that's just basically saying is that if you look at the other literature around, you which you know in the Kemet, you might have the Nisu or the inside.
mhm.
Then you have also the in the Lugal and I know and the kings of Uruk, the priest kings.
Mhm.
And so when you start looking at this right here, you see that this is put on one person, which the king priest is something that is just not used for anybody. And so this has to be it's used for we see which is the branch, which is the Moshiach, who would be a king and a priest on his throne. So that's not really talking about Joshua or Zechariah. I
But
mean,
what about David?
you say David. Now
Correct.
David, because see now getting to David is because through his loins and it is coming. We see the priest king comes through his loins
And
because he's
we see his sons were priests as well. They were Kohanim.
right. So we definitely see it's coming through his loins, but then the gathering of that we see is basically ultimately dealing with Christ because you still had it to where David couldn't do the things, or his sons couldn't really do the things that we see that a Levite would do. You know what I'm saying? Because or even after that, even the Levites try to do the things of the kings try to do the things of a Levite. We see what happened with some of
Correct.
the
Correct. But David was able to eat the showbread and do several other things without suffering death.
right, and so that basically dealing with showing that through his line, showing that line that through him is coming Christ, and this is why we see that the got the mercy there, and why he was able to do that because that showed the sign or the token, which was Christ that was coming through him, which was the priest king.
Jikon, make your final point.
All right, so my final point is
Because just you could paraphrase it if you can't find it.
What is it?
You was looking in Psalms and you were saying that you was going to find a point in Psalms in regards to what was reading in the book of Isaiah chapter 24, I believe.
Right. It's in basically Israel. Well, let's just read Isaiah chapter 2 then because that one was real important that I had. But like I said, I can't get my stuff is locked up.
No, it's okay. Isaiah 2.
Let's deal with Isaiah 2 then.
What verse?
This is verse 2. Let's start at 2. It says, "And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house should be established in the top of the mountains and should be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it.
Okay.
And many people should go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountains of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and teach us of his ways. We will walk in his paths. For out of Zion should go forth the law."
Wait. Out of Zion should go forth what?
Out of Zion should go forth the law.
This is in the end times?
Right, and that's why it's right. That's why it's good, even before the end times, because that's why it's good that Israel. Well, it's gonna tell you right here.
Say it.
That's why it's good. That's why it's good because if Israel is a holy nation of priests, then clearly we see that that's their job. That's what they should be doing.
Israelites should be doing the law.
They should be ministering the light and giving the light unto the nations.
They should be doing the law. You saying right?
Right. Well, they definitely should be doing that and worshiping Christ. Well.
You funny, G-Con. You can just say it. It's okay.
When you say the law, now you know my position on that. So
I know your position on that. You're gonna say all the law and the judgments as well. That's what you like to throw in there.
Right. So you should be following Christ because he's the instructions of the New Testament. The teachings, he gives you those instructions.
Did he keep all the law?
You say what?
Did he keep all the law?
He was up under the law, so he definitely did.
So he kept every stroke and every jot of the law he kept.
He kept what was pertaining to what he was supposed to keep.
Okay, so he didn't keep all the law, right?
Some parts that you see was not pertaining to him, but he did his part basically.
So if I do my part like he does his part, then I can be considered keeping the law as well, correct?
Not really, because you're not under that contract anymore. So you're a breaker of the law.
Nah, man, stop that, G-Con.
You know that. You ain't under that contract anymore.
Stop that, G-Con.
Right. You ain't even eat bread that has been dedicated. I mean, you don't even raise your own cattle. Y'all don't do none of that.
That was something new you just said. How do you know? Have you been out here to Atlanta and see
Well,
what
you
we?
right. You probably go to get you know, but you still ain't doing the entirety of the law because you're supposed to keep Passover in the land. But
Keep Passover on the land. Now you know that was a later development, right?
what do you mean it was a later development?
As far as where, because it just says where he placed his name in the first 5 books, and then it's not until later on that we get where that's at, which is Jerusalem, which is much later because it was another place, Bethel, before we get to Jerusalem being the place where he placed his name. So they kept the Passover in various areas outside of
Well,
Jerusalem.
they never went to Bethel.
Huh? No, they passed through Bethel. I'm saying his name was not established in Jerusalem until Jerusalem was completely under the rule of Israel by means of David and Solomon, right?
Right.
When we had the temple established. Before then, it says wherever he placed his name in Torah. That means wherever his name is at, that's where he wants them to gather. But there was no name established at that time. That's why you don't see the word Jerusalem there when you're reading where they should be keeping Passover.
Right, and so that's what I'm saying. So when you see that his name is placed there, right, and you see that his name is placed in Jerusalem, and he says Beth Sevah, the house of sacrifice, telling you that's where his name at. That's where
His
you want.
name is anywhere Israel is at.
Well, it couldn't be that because if that's the case, then why they wasn't sacrificed outside of the land? Then
They didn't. So you're saying that no sacrifices was done outside the land before they went in. So when they was 40 years in the wilderness, did they make a sacrifice?
I'm not talking about 40 years.
Whoa, wait. I'm asking a question. Did they make a sacrifice?
Yeah, they made a sacrifice, but he told them.
All right. Wait, so watch this. And then when they were dispersed, the northern kingdom, southern kingdom, did they make sacrifices in the land of their captivity? Yes or no?
They came back to the land.
Before they came back to the land, did they make sacrifices? Because
No,
we have evidence of various, the Marushu tablets, Al Yahudu tablets. We have details on how they lived when they were in captivity. And then we also have our Elephantine Island papyri, where we have some more data on how they lived in Elephantine Island because they had a temple there as well. They were making sacrifices.
Right. And so
what I'm saying is it wasn't until we had the final redaction, because you probably don't believe in that, the final redaction of the text, that we start to get all the details there post-exile. That's my position. When they came back to the land, they found the book, right? Oh, shoot, we got a book here. We're supposed to be keeping these things. We ain't been doing it. That's when they started separating the Israelites from the foreign strange wives that they had and all of that. Then they was redacted. Scholars will tell you during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, this is when we had that final redaction take place, where they were trying to reestablish everything that was lost. And this is where we get Jerusalem being a place of sacrifice. That's when you start to get more uniformity and post-exile status, because they had
I disagree with that. The reason why I disagree,
I know you do.
You know why?
Why?
Because not everybody went into exile.
Who? Well, I agree. Are you talking about from the southern tribes or northern tribes or both?
Southern and the northern was there
Correct.
at the same time.
Correct.
They didn't go into exile.
So if you read Jeremiah, it tells you exactly how many of them went into exile and who was left behind. And then for the northern tribes, when the Assyrians came, we see that there were still northern tribe Israelites still in the land, because when Josiah was doing his Passover reform, he was trying to get them to come and keep Passover in Jerusalem, because when Jeroboam has set it up for them to do it in the north, because he was keeping them away from Rehoboam in the south, this is why they were not coming to Jerusalem to keep Passover, right? Well, so you're saying that those individuals who were still in the land, as opposed to the ones taken in captivity, you're saying that the ones that were still in the land was what?
The ones that were still in the land, they still had a genealogy. We see the genealogy, and then not only that is they was only gone for 70 years.
Correct.
So
from Babylon.
From Babylon. So the ones that were still in the land, they still had they were still there. You know what I'm saying? Jeremiah never went. Jeremiah.
Were the priests left behind, or were the priests taken?
If I'm not mistaken, some of the priests was taken. You know what I'm saying? And then some was left behind, but I just know that there was a remnant left behind from the northern and the southerners.
Correct. So there was a remnant left behind. I agree. So you're saying the remnant that got left behind reminded them of the things that they forgot? That's not what
they had. Well, you can't. Well, hold on, brother. You can't come up out of somewhere 70 years and have a genealogy and then say you don't know what's going on.
Whoa, say that one more time.
They had a genealogy.
I agree. They had to maintain that in Babylon to get certain rations and for land grants that was given to them by the Babylonian kingdom before the Persian kingdom took over.
So when they had a genealogy, when Ezra and Zerubbabel went in there, they were still, I mean, these people went in there, they wasn't, they came out of the captivity, into the captivity. These are priests. They would have known the law. So how is you saying they didn't know the law?
So they would have known the law. That's interesting. So when they found the book of the law, what transpired?
What you mean when they found it? You talking about when they're during the time of
when they came back to the land and they found the book of the law, what happened? Let me bring that passage up. I can get it for you. I'm just asking you what happened.
You talking about, what's the passage? Because I thought
you know the passage that pastors use for the pulpit, the wooden pulpit, when it says that the people went and they found the book of the law, they opened it up and they gave understanding to those who did not understand because they were speaking Aramaic and not the Hebrew that was written in the book that they found in the law. And that's when they found out that they're messing things up. Same thing was happening while they were still in the land. You had the kings.
What's the scripture, brother?
Okay, I'll get it for you. Let me get it for you right now. Because, you know, there were kings that also said the same thing. Oh, we were not doing the things we were supposed to be doing. That's when you have Hezekiah's reform, Josiah's reform, because they realized that they were not doing the things that were written in the book. They just kept forgetting about these things because of things that were transpiring. But let me get it for you. Let me get it for you, what I'm talking about. Because this is where you have the birth of the Targums, right? Let me get it for you. See if I can find my notes on this. Okay, so let's get Nehemiah 8, I believe it's in, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look. Nehemiah 8. Hold on, let me see. This is what I'm looking for. All right, so Nehemiah 8, let's go to verse 1. At that time, all the people gathered together in the square before the gate, and they asked Ezra the scribe to bring out the book of the law of Moses, which Yah had commanded for Israel. I think it's before this when they made the reform. Let me look for it. Hold on, give me a second. Well, let's keep reading. I'll keep reading. And then it says, so Ezra read it out loud from daybreak until noon as he faced the square before the water gate in front of the men and the women and those that could understand, and all the people listened attentively to the book of the law. Then it goes to say, Ezra the scribe stood on a high wooden platform built for this occasion. This is why pastors have a altar from this passage. And it says, at the right side stood, and it gives you a name of various individuals. Ezra opened the book in full view of the people, since he was standing above them all. And as he opened it, all the people stood up. This is why when the Bible's being read in church, everybody stands up, right? Because they're getting it from this, right? Then Ezra blessed Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, the great power, and with their hands uplifted, all the people say amen. Then they bowed their head down and worshiped Yah to the ground. Let's keep going. The Levites, it tells you the Levites instructed the people in the law as they stood in their places. Keep going. So they read from the book of the law, explaining it and giving insight so that people could understand what was being read. This is where your source of the Targum comes from. And it says, Nehemiah, the governor, Ezra, the priest and the scribe, and all the Levites who are instructing the people said to all of them, this day is holy to Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, our power. Do not mourn and weep, for all the people were weeping as they heard the words of the law. Right? They might have told them, go and eat what is rich and drink what is sweet, send out portions. Nothing being experienced since today is a holy day. Do not grieve, for the joy of Yah is your strength. So the purpose of them grieving after hearing the law was what? Because you said the Levites were amongst them. They knew the law. Why were the people weeping during this time period?
No, I'm saying that the Levites had the law. It's not like they rewrote something. So I heard noise.
No. I didn't say they rewrote anything. I didn't say that.
No, so what I'm saying is is that the Levites had the law. They had a genealogy. And not only that, is that this is something that Israel did to rehearse the laws over and over again throughout their generations because of it was used as a witness against them.
Are you saying that Ezra had the text there with him? He had the Torah in his possession.
I don't know what he had, but he definitely had something with him.
Okay. So that's where we come to the point of Jerusalem, right? Where I'm saying once they reestablished Jerusalem, Jerusalem became the agreed upon place in which all the sacrifices and all the gatherings were to be done. But when the people were in the land before they got to Canaan, they were keeping the law, but there was no name as to where it was to be placed. The word Jerusalem is not there. Where he says, okay, I want you guys to come before me in Jerusalem.
Well, he says the house of the Lord, basically.
Right. If I erect a synagogue, is that the house of the Lord?
Right, but this is what Solomon, the prayer of Solomon in First Chronicles chapter 8.
Now you get into later. I'm saying while they were in the wilderness and they were keeping the law, doing sacrifice. Remember, they had the tabernacle all the way up to David.
Right. And he told them they're not to, when they come to the place that they're supposed to come to, they are not to do what they're doing there this day. That's Deuteronomy chapter 12, 16, and also 14. So what he's telling them,
read that real quick. That's a good right there. Read it real quick.
I can't read it
because you don't have it in front of you. Okay.
Yeah, because if I'm on this iPad and I'm looking. If I go out here on StreamYard, it's gonna start crackling. My phone gone. It's dead.
Okay. So how about this? Let's wrap it up. You say your final point. If you want to expound on that, that's cool. And I want to respond to it. But like I think I have to agree with what you said earlier. We'll be here all night, which I don't mind, but it's kind of late. But I'll let you give your final point, which can be on this or just in general what we discussed. So I'll give you a few minutes. Let you give your final point.
All right. First of all, praise the Most High. I appreciate you, Ron Shields, for having this discussion with me. Appreciate that. My premise is the salvation or the gospel, as I expounded on, which is the circumcision that you see concerning the seed, which is Christ, the token that was given of him parting his flesh and shedding his blood for all men. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we see that you can choose to believe right now. You know what I'm saying? If a person died, that they can have a place preserved in him and die in him. And this is not just a thing to where when you see somebody have to wait to or be the last standing generation to receive Christ. The natural people that you see that comes into the kingdom in the last days that we see are natural nations, but those that die now will have spiritual bodies and also will be born again believers that died in Christ. And those that are born again believers that died in Christ, those people are at a higher level than what we see that is concerning those who are spiritual. I mean, those who are natural beings. So there's a different kind of different kinds of people, and even in a lot of days, you have spiritual Israelites with spiritual bodies. You have natural Gentiles with natural bodies, and you have spiritual Gentiles with spiritual bodies. And so we have to put those things and put those things where they're supposed to be at it, and know the distinctions between what is what. Salvation is not just a thing to where we see it's just being saved from your physical enemies, but salvation also has to deal with the mind first, and it brings you into a state of the Lord's Prayer. And I'm gonna end it on this. The Lord's Prayer is that things that we see things we see on earth or in heaven or on earth may be like the things that we see that is in heaven. And so that's the Lord's Prayer. And so when you look at that, his kingdom is something that we see that is spiritual, and then the last thing we see is that which is physical, which is tangible, so to speak. And that's the way how salvation is. He says, I have seen the salvation of the Lord. And them people didn't get delivered at that time. They didn't see the kingdom delivered. So it's much more than just a physical deliverance. It's also spiritual.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. You want to shout anything out? You want people to go to your channel or something like that? Email?
If my channel is G Consciousness. Consciousness is spelled with a K. If you want to have a discussion, we have live discussions. You know what I'm saying? All day, like Brother Ron say, it may be an 8-hour discussion. You know what I'm saying? I'm a truck driver. So if you want to get over there, you want to talk and have a live discussion, formal, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? Just don't come in the one West spirit. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, grace and peace. All praise to the Most High God.
All right, so I want to thank you for joining the panel, G-Con, and conducting yourself accordingly, which you typically do when we talk. It's just that when you do your own show, it looks like something different, right? So that's why I was messing with you in the chat initially. But I appreciate your decorum for being respectful, having a good build, right? We put things on the table so people can examine both sides, allowing you an opportunity to let people know where they can reach you at, which I feel is important because, like I said, I'm not no hater, right? So if people was in here and they sided with you, hey, go check out GCon. You know what I'm saying? It's not a problem. And what I'll say, just to kind of wrap things up, the gospel is very simple, right? The Most High took Israel into the land of Canaan. The Israelites were disobedient at times, and this is not everybody, but the majority of them were disobedient. But because of the promise he made with Abraham, through the king of Israel, he said that he will establish a branch in the end times. The gospel message is primarily geared to Israel, but not limited to Israel. So being that we read Isaiah 52, 24, 11, all of that will expressly tell you who the gospel is for. And this is why when Nebi Yeshua, or prophet Yeshua, came on the scene, who he was sharing his message to, the children of Israel. He said, I've come only but to the lost sheep of Israel. He made it very clear who he came to. Now, did he neglect interfacing with Gentiles in the process? No, but he did not preach the gospel to them. So their job is to see Yah work with Israel, and through the rising up of Israel, it will draw the other nations to cleave unto Israel. Not the nation as a full faction, but individuals from nations that cleave unto Israel because of the message that Yeshua brought in the last days and trying to bring the lost sheep of Israel with the Israel that was in the fold already. So during the uniting of the northern and southern kingdoms, there is a message where a king is going to arrive, reestablish the kingdom in righteousness, because the kings in the past, most of them fell astray. And in doing so, give access or permit access to certain peoples in the kingdom, but also bring forth the law again, which we just saw, bring forth tabernacles, which you see in Zechariah, and do these things again that we see that was being done in the land of Israel when it was established in righteousness by David, right? And continue to Solomon until he fell off. So the gospel message is simple. Israel, awake, awake, Israel. Shake off the dust, cleanse and purify yourselves, because your power reigns. He's going to restore you back to Jerusalem. He's going to reign from the holy hill of Mount Zion. You will be his people again. Book of Isaiah 11:19, 36 and 26 says it very expressly. He's going to remove the heart of stone that you should have had circumcised, based on what Deuteronomy 10 and 16 said by Moses, and he's going to give you that heart of flesh, so that way you will be his people and he will be your power. And it's there he's going to give you the spirit, which is going to bring to your remembrance the laws that you were keeping anyway. So now we're training ourselves not just to keep the physical aspects of the law, but the weightier matters of the law that we tend to overlook because a lot of us are too legalistic. So I agree, there's a circumcision in the flesh to remind you of the covenant, but there's also a circumcision of the heart. We cannot forget the circumcision of the heart. The third circumcision is a circumcision that the Most High Yah does on the heart of the people in the end times, when he removes that heart of stone, gives them that heart of flesh. He sprinkles water on them so that they may be clean. And then he gives them his spirit, which allows them to walk in those laws, those statutes, and those commandments. And this mighty work he's going to do in the end times is going to get all the nations to see that this is the true power of all the earth. And it's going to draw them to inquire, hey, can we follow you guys to go up to that mountain and worship that same God that you worship? Because we see the salvation he brings unto you. We want a piece of that because we don't want to be on the other side of judgment. So the work that he's doing in Israel today and in the future is what draws the Gentiles. And Yeshua, being the staple example that Gentiles now cleave unto, is testament that he's still using Israel to wake up the nations and to bring forth salvation. So that is my position in regards to salvation. GCon presented his. I think we did a good job just laying on the table a couple of cards that we had. We was going to go a little bit further, but given time, we're already over 3 hours. I want to end this so that people don't get scared when they see how lengthy this video is. So thank you, GCon, for being my guest. You're welcome anytime, as long as you don't act up, right? You said don't bring the One West. Don't bring that urban apologist extremism here, all right? And if you don't do that, we should be cool. Cool?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Grace and peace, brother.
All right, I'm going to drop you off. I appreciate you, GCon.
Peace, brother. Peace.
All right. All right, so I think that was a pretty decent build. GCon did reveal something new to me. I didn't know that the circumcision, physical circumcision, was the circumcision of Christ. That was something brand new to me. I guess I learned something today. You know what I'm saying? Not that I agree with it, but I thought that was pretty unique. I wasn't too convinced by the scriptures he was using to actually prove that point, but I think he was in his Christian magic bag tonight. You know what I'm saying? So definitely want to give him props for doing the Christian magic and being able to bewitch me. I'm messing with you, Decon. Bewitch me into believing this new circumcision thing that was already old. It was kind of like off. But then we went into a couple other things that I, expound on a couple other things, which was interesting. He said that he deals with the Old Testament most of the time. He's correct. He does. And I got to give it to him. He does deal with the Old Testament. That's how we know he's going to be Israel soon. So it's all good. But what I simply was trying to express to him and to all Christians, even Christian apologists when they deal with me, there are a lot of presuppositions that are done within Paul's Christology. And the reason why those presuppositions are there is because of the audience in which Paul was geared towards. Galatians chapter 2 tells us whose Paul's audience was, the uncircumcised. So he's taken a different approach to the gospel because he then personalized it when he talks to Timothy and says, my gospel. Because he personalized it. This is my gospel. Yeah, you're right. It is your gospel because you're the one giving it to the Gentiles, prepping the Gentiles to be brought in to the be the wild olive branches, to be brought into the actual tree, which is the olive tree, which is Israel. We see in the book of Jeremiah where Israel is called the olive tree. So they're going to be brought into the olive tree, which is Israel. So he's prepping the Gentiles so that they can be grafted in, so that they don't boast because branches were broken off so that they can come in. But he's saying you have to cleave unto Israel, because the gospel is for Israel. When people stretch the gospel out and say, well, the gospel is back in the book of Genesis, this is later theology. This is something that develops later in time. A person reading from Genesis to Malachi are going to see things differently, because the Most High was working with man until he established the nation of Israel and was going to use them to be his light unto the Gentiles until they fell. And then now he had to set up an alternate plan because of their failure. So that way Israel can be restored. Zion can be restored. Awake, O Zion, the dry bones in the valley, so that they can be restored. And that is the salvation that's going to ring out to the ends of the earth, is what he's doing with Israel in Jerusalem when it's reestablished. That's why we call it the New Jerusalem in Zion. He's going to reign from the holy Mount of Zion. And in doing so, he's going to let all the nations know, remove that cloak of blindness, because they persecuted Israel, to know these are my people. And I'm bringing salvation through them. I'm going to put my righteous king over them. And that king is the one that's going to allow who gets access and who doesn't get access. Now, who that king is can be disputed. Whether some people say it's Jesus, whether some people say it's somebody else that's coming on the scene, that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, it's the king that gives access to who he feels should be in that kingdom based on a list of stipulations. The Gentiles will learn the law in the end time. So why do Gentiles have an issue with learning the law today? They always want to beat somebody up over the head when it comes to the law. But G-Con admitted that, yeah, Israelites should be keeping the law. That's what he says. But then he says, well, but you know my position on the law. And I say, yeah, I hear what you're saying. He's saying, well, unless you're in the land, this is what he's saying. So if you don't accept the fact that what we're practicing is authentic because we're not in the law, look at it as etiquette. The etiquette that we use and we practice before we actually get to that lamb's a supper table, before we get back into land, before we're regathered, before we purged in the wilderness, before we brought back into the land, we're rehearsing these things. And the rehearsal of these things is already going to keep us in alignment of what we're going to be doing during that time. So the gospel is not difficult. Isaiah 52, the gospel is right there. Isaiah 61, Yeshua, he cited that when it came to the gospel. And he says it's going to those who are brokenhearted. Who? His people. This is why when we look at the Sermon on the Mount, it was directed to his people. He was trying to get them to be spiritually right so they don't miss the kingdom on top of following the commandments. This is what was alluded to by Moses when he says in Deuteronomy 10 and 16, circumcise the foreskins of your heart. If you don't take the foreskin off your heart, it doesn't matter how many laws you're doing, it's not going to be in you. This is why he said, I got to remove that stone of heart and I got to write in your mind my laws, because they were not doing it themselves. They were failing to do that. Yeshua came to give us that example to say, look, this is how you are able to make the legal aspects of the law personal, that you can live it out. You can take your spiritual walk to another level, because not only do you have the law aspects, but you have it married with the spiritual etiquette behind it. This is what he was conveying to the people. And in being prepped in that way, they can walk into wherever the future holds for them. Right. So with that being said, I just wanted to put that out there. I don't know what's going on in the chat right now. I don't see what's going on here in the chat. Let me see. Hold on. Before I go. Renzo, it's all good. It's recorded. You can go back and check it out tomorrow. I don't know if you're on a stay-at-home order as well, but if you are, you got enough time to go back and watch it. I'm about to end it in a second, right? So Gentiles are Israelites, not heathen. Adams are the people. Okay, I see what you're saying. I yield. Let me see. Calvin, did you email me? If you email me, I'll go back and check it. I think Dylan, I think you emailed me too, Dylan. I'm gonna go back and check that as well. All right. So, chart discussions. Okay. All right. I got you. I put my position on that. Ayil, he went into the language a little bit. That was cool. That was cool. So, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna go live again this week. Way earlier than what I'm now. And it's just gonna be, again, this is a coronavirus stay-at-home Chronicles. So we're going to do another one where I'll open the panel up for anybody to come in. My bad, Deacon. I seen Deacon. He was in the back room, but me and G-Con was talking, so he had dropped out. So Deacon, if you want to join in on a future live stream this week, it's fine. Let me know, and you can jump in, okay? Or anybody else. I'll just drop the link there, all right? So with that being said, I don't know what you're saying, Isaac Judah. What's your position, Isaac Judah? I don't know what you're saying. It's cultural virtue. Oh, shout out to the gospel. First time subscriber. I appreciate that. Anybody who's here, hit that thumbs up button if you're here. If you are new, hit that subscribe button. Okay. And if you want to give to a cause based on current events, I'm gonna place the link for the GoFundMe in the chat. It's right there. All right, help out families that are struggling financially through this economic crisis due to the coronavirus pandemic. There's a link right there. You guys can click on it and you guys can donate whatever you can, those who are fortunate enough to do so. Also, I have a Patreon. I post a Patreon in chat. Anybody wants to sign up for the Patreon and be eligible for the drawing for the bill pay, the link is right here. All you got to do is sign up for the Patreon and pledge for one of the tiers to be eligible. Okay, we pay the bill up to $200. We're going to do that as a gift to the people who have continuously sacrificed and invested in our Patreon to keep us afloat. All right. And also, I see right now that there's a lot of back and forth now between the Israelites and the urban apologist community. I'm gonna get involved here and there. I'm not gonna consistently make a million videos about them because that's just not what I'm gonna do. I have counterparts that's their battle. My battle is to teach the culture to the people. So with restorative culture, there can be a more close-knit community. And then from there, we could branch out and become autonomous. And by being autonomous, we become Kodesh. So that way, when judgments reign on the earth, we are not affected. And Yah can see who's his and receive us unto himself when the kingdom is established on the earth, however he chooses to do that. All right. So with that being said, family, thank you all for watching. I appreciate y'all for being here. It's 4:51 a.m. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here with KHM, and we appreciate that. All right. I see that was getting a little heated in the chat. It's all good. Thank y'all for your input. Those of you who agree or disagree for being here on today. If there's anything that we can do to help you guys out, email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. Right. And I'm going to put the email there in the chat. Please be patient with us. We get a lot of email, so it takes time to go through it, but we will get to you. Okay, so please be patient. I know some people have emailed us. If you need to forward us your previous email, please do so. All right. I need PG&E paid. I got $100 bill. Bro, GT, if you want a bill paid to be eligible for that, then you need to sign up for the Patreon. If I don't see you on the Patreon, then we're not paying none of your bills. Okay, because we don't mind helping trolls out. If you want to go ahead and pledge, then we'll help you out. We ain't got a problem with that because you're keeping the ministry afloat. You know what I'm saying? So we okay with haters signing up for Patreon. Matter of fact, we got 3 haters who signed up for Patreon. And I know why they did that, because they want to keep full tabs on everything that I do. Come on, I see everything, man. I see. But it's okay. I'm okay with the haters. They want to spend their money to support KHM just to spy on me. I'm all right with that. That's fine. I appreciate that. We're going to use those funds to go to good use, right? So with that being said, family, thank you for watching. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the session we had with just a freestyle. like I said, we still have our normally scheduled Freestyle Friday coming up this Friday. And between Wednesday and Thursday, I may go live again. But since there's a stay-at-home order, I'll have more time to do live streams with y'all because I want to add more content to the channel, and I'm going to work on the coronavirus PowerPoint for y'all as well. I'm trying to think of a name, a catchy title for the lecture as well. All right. So with that being said, family, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. My brother Chris in the building, my admin mod, my brother right there from KHM, and the rest of the family out there. I appreciate that. Born an Outlaw said, we still up. Yeah. You know why? Because a lot of us ain't got work to go to tomorrow. That's why some of us are still up. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all are truckers, so y'all up anyway. Other people are just night owls. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm good with that. I appreciate that. No problem. But we'll bring back the call-in number. The next time I go live, I'll bring back the call-in number so y'all can call in for those of you who don't want to get on the panel. And then we'll open up to the panelists and just have a free fall. All right? I have no problem with that. All right? So with that, family, I appreciate your time. Thank you for your input. Thank you for the donations and all the support you've given us. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit that subscribe if you're brand new. Make sure you share this video. And again, like I said, if you want to give to a cause, our GoFundMe is there. Help struggling families through this crisis, because not only am I sitting here talking the stuff that I'm talking, we're actually trying to do things to make a difference in the community. So that's what sets us apart from all these other people out there that just want to argue and fight and debate, but people are struggling. Are y'all helping those people out who are struggling? And if your leaders are not there for you in a time of crisis, then you need to invest somewhere else. And you know when you invest in us where it goes, because we have hundreds of testimonies. All right. It'll probably have to be late in the evening. If you could do it a Habala late in the evening, text me first, and we'll go from there. All right. All right, family. I love you. Appreciate y'all for being here. Peace and shalom.